Okay. Well, I was not expecting this. This Bulls team is just crazy with how inconsistent they decide to be with their level of play, as playing up and down to competition. But not to mention, I mean, the Bulls were at home tonight, bro. Like, I was fully expecting an L tonight because the Bulls are at home, and they have not played well at all at home this year. So I was really expecting a pretty bad performance, and we got quite the opposite. This is a game that I've been needing to see from the Bulls for a while, okay? This was so much better to watch tonight than a lot of the other Bulls games recently. Obviously, you know, it's been a lot of bad L's recently, but this is what I needed to see from this Bulls squad. Because this, at least in my opinion tonight, this was a win led by the young guys tonight. This was good play from the young guys, something that we have not really been seeing at all throughout the season. And we finally got a game where the young guys were a major focus, like a big part of the win tonight. And it wasn't just by like one or two. It was by multiple young guys coming in, making a big impact on the game, and showing like, hey, we can actually be playing this well. That was awesome to watch, okay? I can definitely live with a win like this. You know, I hope the Bulls keep the pick, but I can live with a win like this if the young guys are the reason why they come in and they say, hey, we're going to be great off the bench tonight. We're going to show up the opposing team's bench. Yeah, this is something I can definitely get behind. So I'm very happy to see this. It's been something that I've been hoping to see for a while now, because the younger players overall, we've been naming them on the streams constantly. They have not performed at all recently until tonight. This was very solid to see tonight, and I'm going to give everybody a big round of applause for the younger players, because this was huge. This was awesome just to watch, to see a lot of the younger players just have a major impact in just many different ways throughout the game. And we'll immediately kind of jump right into obviously the big storyline so with Patrick Williams coming off the bench. Again, everyone kind of crazy. People look so much better second unit going against bad players. Lol. Okay, yeah, that is also something to keep in mind. The Nuggets bench this season has been a problem. This has kind of been the issue with the Nuggets recently. Is just that when Jokic is off the floor, it's like, well, what do you do? Jokic is the entire engine for the Nuggets. So it is important to note that so Patrick Williams did come off the bench. He did not start for the first time, or no, sorry, that's not correct. But Pat, just suddenly pushed out of the starting lineup, and it's kind of shocking because Casey Johnson did tweet about this, but Ayo Dosunmu and Lonzo Ball are both on minutes restrictions, right? So the fact that we saw, or maybe Ayo's off of it now officially, but Lonzo's still on a minutes restriction. So to see that Patrick Williams gets benched, right, and there's still a guy in the starting lineup with a minutes restriction, it's kind of crazy, right? It's that shows that Patrick Williams has just not played well at all recently. So bad to the point that he's been benched. Pat tonight looked like a completely different Patrick Williams. I was just shocked, honestly, like, scoring, we'll talk about in a second. The man pulled out 8 rebounds today. He had 3 offensive rebounds, okay? I have not seen this from Patrick Williams in forever, right? Like, when's the last time we saw this from Patrick Williams? 3 offensive rebounds, 8 rebounds in total, played 28 minutes, so it's not like he's getting, like, less minutes or anything. Like, it's about, like, he had about normal minutes tonight, even when he was a starter, but he had 8 rebounds, right? Like, that right there is just production. That is so much better production than what we've been seeing from him, and that, to me, was the biggest shocker. I'm like, oh my god, bro. Like, we got 8 rebounds for Patrick Williams? Like, 3 offensive rebounds for Patrick Williams? Like, oh my god. Like, when did that happen, bro? He was also he just seemed to be so much more engaged defensively. Like, he actively looked like he was contesting shots. Like, he understood when to take his timings to try to be aggressive as a defender. Like, that's just what I need to see. There's stuff that won't show up in the box score, but this is the Patrick Williams we need to see in terms of just overall motor, right? Like, forget offensive production, forget aggressiveness with your shot, just what's your motor, right? And this was a very different Patrick Williams tonight on all levels. So then to get to the scoring aspect with him, I mean, he hit a nice, like, mid-range shot, and he hit an open 3-point shot in the corner, right, on a catch and shoot opportunity. He missed his other 4, but that's okay, right? he had a couple of opportunities where he got off the dribble, right, and made some shots. That's what we need to see. That's what we need to see from Pat. If he wants more responsibility with the basketball, we got to see this consistently in terms of off the dribble shot making ability. What Viper Strike did say, though, is true, though. Okay, the Nuggets bench is significantly bad, right? Like it is bad when it comes to you know, the way that the Nuggets is kind of just, their entire team is just built with the way that their contracts are and everything. The Nuggets overall bench is really bad. So as much as I'm giving a big round of applause to Patrick Williams tonight, it is also just important to know that the Nuggets bench is one of the worst in the league at the moment, and I'd have to double check that actually, because I do think now, because Russell Westbrook is in the starting lineup, it's still struggling pretty badly. So I want to see Patrick Williams now for the next game. Like, all right, you know, I don't need you to go and, you know, put up however many points he had tonight, which was, you know, 11, right? I don't necessarily need that, but if you're gonna come off the bench and you're gonna get me 8 rebounds and play better defense, right, and you'll chip in some points here and there, like, that's what I'll take that from Pat. Like, that's what I care about more than his overall scoring, right? His scoring still, I mean, like, he still shot 41% tonight, so it's not like amazing, but this overall motor from him, the aggressiveness on defense, the more energy plays, 8 rebounds, 3 offensive rebounds, that's what we got to see. Okay, and if it requires him coming off the bench every single game to get that sort of production, we'll do it every single night then. So I'm hoping that if this is the way, then, you know, we have maybe our DeAndre Hunter for the future, which is not exactly something I want to see Patrick Williams turn into, but if we're gonna get any sort of consistent production out of him, then if this is the way, sure, right? I mean, we'll take this. We'll gladly take this then if this is the way to get some sort of consistent production out of him. It's just his motor, right? We just need to see his motor like this consistently, and I'm so happy that we saw it tonight. So big round of applause to Patrick Williams. He got benched, took it, maybe it was a wake-up call for him. I don't know what it was. I know obviously he came off the bench in college, so maybe he's just more comfortable doing that. But this was so much better tonight. Like, this was a million times better. It wasn't perfect, but the motor itself from Patrick Williams tonight was just so much better. And hence, you just saw the impact, right? You don't need the dude to score for him to be impactful. And we saw the impact up and down the floor tonight just for him not even scoring, just being better as a player. So I hope to see this consistently. Again, I have some doubts still. I think every Bulls fan has the right to have some doubts about him continuously putting up this sort of level performance off the bench, okay? I think we should all be doubting, like, well, are you going to do this the next game? Because, I mean, we haven't seen any sort of good play from you pretty much all season long, except for, like, some, you know, 5 to 6 game little stretches, right? So I'm hoping this is consistent. Again, I don't need the scoring. I just need the motor. I need the defense. I need the rebounding, right? That's what I need. So I'm hoping that we're going to see this moving forward from P. Will. So good start tonight. It's encouraging for what we saw tonight. P. Will to the Hall of Fame. Buzelis showed out Dalen too. Yes. So those are the other 2 guys off the bench that absolutely deserve praise. Buzelis got basically 20 minutes tonight, which is what I've been calling for pretty much all season long from Billy Donovan. So Billy, I guess, made a change. Buzelis was basically the 6th man tonight, even though he didn't get the most minutes off the bench. But he played pretty much 20 minutes tonight, and we saw 4 or 5 shooting. That crazy dunk after making Eric Gordon fall to the ground. Like, I was recovering from that dunk for a little bit. That was insane to watch. Like, that's awesome, right? This is why Buzelis needs to be out there, though. The guy is a very impactful player. Like, he needs to just be out there. He's gonna have mistakes, you know. Well, you just let him play through the mistakes. But this is what we got to see from Billy Donovan, is just let him play. We saw obviously some transition opportunities for him tonight, which is awesome. That's something the Bulls were not doing in the first half, but we saw in the second half. This is awesome. Okay, like, this is what I need to see. Again, if the Bulls lost tonight, this is just a much better L overall. Yeah, this is great. This was a great overall performance from Buzelis, and I'm so thankful that Donovan allowed him to play basically 20 minutes, which he needs to play every single night. And then last but not least, off the bench, and, you know, before we get to Io and Giddey here, Dalen Terry, bro, I was just shocked to see how quickly he just racked up the points tonight. I mean, he only played 13 minutes. He had 13 points. And 3 of 4 from 3-point range. I mean, unfortunately, he did airball one 3-point shot, but this was a Dalen Terry performance I was not expecting. Honestly, I was not expecting this from Dalen Terry. DT, I've been kind of basically saying that like I haven't been that impressed with him overall this season. He's had like a nice game here and there, but I would have been okay if he's just kind of benched for the rest of the season, just so that we can get Buzelis that consistent playing time. And he went and had a really nice performance. 4 rebounds for him. Pretty, all right defense, which is what he needs to play for him to get consistent playing time. But he hit 3 threes, which is the more important thing. Was clearly a spark in the start of the fourth quarter, which is great. So, I would personally be looking to take away THT's complete, his total minutes. Like, if we could just take away THT's minutes, I'd be completely fine with that. I'm shocked Billy Donovan is still even playing him at this point. He has not played well at all recently. So I would, the fact that he got 4 minutes is pretty ridiculous in my opinion tonight, and which, is all in the first half. But, if we can take those THT minutes and give it to either Buzelis or give it to Dalen Terry, like, yeah, sure. Either way, though, like, I do think that Billy is still, having THT in the rotation is playing maybe one too many guys. Remember that Kobe White is still out, right? So someone's gonna have to go and not go back to playing less minutes again here soon. But yeah, if we could just get rid of THT's minutes and give it to someone else, I'd be very happy with that. Just to get more guys consistent run, especially off the bench. So I'm hoping that's gonna work out in what I want to see it, at least. But I don't know with Billy at this point. Yeah, DT, man, I've been not happy with him recently. I know he's he had an injury earlier in the year, but yeah, like, this is awesome to see from DT. So I'm hoping that we get to see maybe more of this if he does play. I'm not again, I'm not asking for consistent points from him. Like, I don't need him to shoot 3 or 4 from 3-point range consistently, but I do need him to play that consistent defense. And if he gets me 4 rebounds, awesome. Gets me a steal, great, right? That's what I'm more looking for. The points are just a cherry on top, and he was able to do that tonight. So props to him. Now, the other young guys, Ayo Dosunmu was put back into the starting lineup, and I honestly think that the Bulls need to just continue doing this. Even when Kobe White gets back, I do think that the Bulls just need to start Ayo, and I'm going to continue showing you guys why. So Ayo, like, some people have been are saying recently on Twitter that Ayo's had like a pretty down year. The reality is that Ayo is actually having a career year in terms of points per game. This is the most points per game he's ever averaged in his career throughout a season. And yes, his 3-point shot this year has taken a dip. It's coming into tonight is at 32%. But coming into tonight, like, I don't know what it is with Ayo, but him as a starter, like, the numbers and efficiency for him as a starter are just vastly different. Okay. His starting numbers, he's shooting 52% from the field, averaging 14.5 points per game. 5 assists, 4 rebounds, a steal. Okay. 3-point percentage is at 35%, right? So it's not, 32%. Off the bench, though, for Ayo, he's averaging only 10 points per game. He's shooting significantly worse overall from the field in total, but only 29% from 3-point range, right? So that's like kind of like the big thing. It's like, oh wow, his 3-point percentage kind of takes a major dip. He also doesn't, I mean, yeah, it's less minutes overall, but it's still like kind of probably consistent minutes for him off the bench. But for some reason, he's just better in the starting lineup. So with the way that obviously tonight's just one game, and I don't know if P. Will is going to continue doing this off the bench. I hope he does, but I would not be upset just running the 4-guard lineup here now in the starting lineup for the Bulls, where you start Kobe and Ayo in the backcourt with Levine and Giddey in the front court, which I get it. It's like 4 guards, right? But, Giddey's, can be like a forward anyway. I personally would not be upset at that at all, because, I mean, what do the Bulls really have to lose if it's like, oh, matchup issues? Like, again, what's really to lose? But if the guys just play better in these roles, like Patrick Williams plays a lot better as coming off the bench, and Ayo plays a lot better in the starting lineup, then, I think we should all just accept it, right? So I personally would look into this moving forward. I would hope that Donovan recognizes this, and he does seem to trust Io a lot. So I'm gonna hope that he does trust Io moving forward. Just stay in the starting lineup and take that power forward, I guess, role, but it's really Josh Giddey. But just take that sort of spot from P. Will from here on out until another change is needed, which I don't know if anything will be needed, honestly. So shout out to Io for having probably his best game since he's gotten back. 4-7 from 3-point range was just great. Finished pretty nicely around the basket. Played well in transition. Was actually a big reason why the Bulls looked pretty solid tonight when Zach was off the floor, right? The Bulls recently with LaVine off the floor have been dreadful. But this was probably the best game for the Bulls where when LaVine was off the floor, the Bulls actually looked pretty solid tonight, thanks to the young players, and Io was a major part of that. So really good to see. Again, the Nuggets bench is pretty dreadful. They can't really score a bucket without Jokic on the floor there. Yeah, this is good from Io. So I just keep him in the starting lineup. Like, if Io's going to give me 17 points per game in the starting lineup, then yeah, you just keep him in the starting lineup, right? And then last but not least, Josh Giddey. Another double-double for him. So this is a double-double between points and rebounds. He did not close the game. I do think that he had some turnovers that were unnecessary. That behind-the-back pass that was, he wanted to kick ball with it, but that just wasn't a smart decision anyway. But I do want to just shout out his defense. I do think he's really trying. 3 steals tonight, but forget just the numbers. Like, I just think that Giddey is trying harder on that end, and I just appreciate that. Again, I don't expect great defender from him, but I just appreciate that he is trying. He had to guard Michael Porter Jr. for a decent amount of time tonight, and that's not easy, okay? But he did a pretty decent job of it. He took the 3-point shots where I think he needed to take them, so he went 2 for 4 tonight, so big props to him there. He had some off the dribble or pick and roll shots made, which was good. So nice overall signs from Giddey. Less rebounding, but if Patrick Williams is going to get the 8 rebounds, then he doesn't have to do as much rebounding, right? So this is really kind of a solid game overall from Giddey as well. He didn't close because P. Will was playing better. But yeah, solid again. So again, these sort of games where the younger players have a major mark on the game, it's not always scoring, right? But they have a major impact on the game, and the Bulls happen to stumble their way into a win. I'm all for it. Like, this gives me a lot. This makes me feel a lot better about these younger players after this sort of performance, right? It's the performances like against the Charlotte Hornets when we won in like overtime when LaVine wasn't available, but Torrey Craig like went off. Like, it was just Lonzo, Vucevic, and Torrey Craig. Like, that sort of game doesn't make me feel too great, where you win because your vets are basically doing everything and like not a single younger player's on the floor. But this is much better, right? Like, I can absolutely live with this sort of win, even though I want to keep the pick. And as much as I was expecting the Bulls to come away with an L tonight because Jokic had a triple-double, the Bulls are at home, the Bulls suck at home this year, the younger players said, no, we're going to outscore the Nuggets bench significantly, and this is so much better to see. So I'm encouraged from what I saw tonight. I think we can all, be skeptical about the consistent level of production from these younger players because we've seen it all season long. It's been inconsistent, and when it's on its bad time, like, it's been bad, right? We talked about Patrick Williams obviously a lot in the last couple of streams. Giddey has had some up and down moments, right? Io had a pretty rough stretch to start the season. So I understand they're young players, but at the same time, like, they're also not 19 and 20-year-olds, okay? Like, a lot of these guys, I mean, Patrick Williams is in his 5th year, new contract. Giddey's trying to play for a contract, right? So I'm fine with ups and downs, but it just can't be like these large downhill times with some of these younger players. So I'm hoping that this is the trend in the right direction to get these younger players back on track here. So yeah, appreciate y'all being here. If you have not already hit the like button on the stream, please do. It helps me out a lot. Thank you for all being here. It's been a lot of fun talking to you guys all season long, and this was a pretty fun Bulls win to talk about. Bulls apparently very happy to be done with that tough stretch of teams like Blazers, Hospital, Sixers, and finally get to play a real playoff team. Yeah, I honestly wouldn't be shocked if the Bulls put up like a good performance in Boston on Wednesday, like, because it's just the Bulls. Like, it makes no damn sense. But I mean, the Bulls already won in Boston this year, thanks to probably like a LaVine masterclass. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Bulls go into Boston and have like a hell of a game. Honestly, they may not win it because this is the Boston Celtics, but I just wouldn't be shocked. Like, the Bulls got through their easy part of the schedule and all of a sudden now it's like it's harder and the Bulls just play better. Yeah, there's a play where he missed a midi, but then chased his own rebound. Don't think you've ever seen that from him. Yeah, so you talk about Patrick Williams. Yeah, that's something I've never seen from him, honestly. Pat needs the leverables to cheer, be aggressive whenever he's on the floor at home. Honestly, if that's what it takes, bro, then that's what it takes, right? Whatever it's gonna take to get Patrick Williams just have a better motor and just give me more effort, like on the glass, in transition, a better defense. I don't care. Like, do it. Whatever it's gonna take. Like, if it requires Billy Donovan to basically sit down with him for 20 minutes before each game, then sure, we'll do that. We'll do that too. 82 points from Zoe. What a comeback story, man. Yeah, Lonzo Ball had a hell of a game tonight. 4% from three-point range. He was doing a really nice job at just being a pest on defense. I really like Lonzo being like sort of that free safety on defense. Like, I do think that his on-ball defense isn't necessarily as what it probably was once before. But his off-ball defense this year, man, it's been spectacular. So him playing like that sort of free safety role has really given a lot of teams other teams problems when facing him. He's still on the minutes restriction, right? Like you saw, only 24 minutes tonight for Lonzo. So it's still a minutes restriction for him. But in these minutes, though, like he's been absolutely spectacular. Just his three-point shot is really coming around now, which is great to see. And yeah, if he's gonna be giving you this, like, I don't know if a team's gonna really want to trade for him again because of the contract. Again, $20 million for possibly a player to come off your bench doesn't really sound too appealing. But this is awesome to watch. So I'm really happy for Zoe. He's been pretty solid since he's been put in the starting lineup, and we'll see if he honestly just, like, I doubt he'll stay there, but there is a chance he might just stay there and you just move Io back to the bench. But yeah, I do think that with Zoe, like, this has been great just to see. I'm hoping that this can, biggest thing, again, no expectations, just stay healthy with him. If he's able to just knock down these threes, it's just a cherry on top with him. And like, it's awesome just to watch that he's being aggressive on defense and hitting the three-point shot, which is his best trait on offense. Lavish got his 10th rebound at the end of the game. Shamey was missing everything at the end. Yeah, Vooch. So Stacey King is Stacey King, right? Stacey King was like, like he was so happy to see Vooch do like 23 shots. I personally don't think this is one of those nights where Vooch needed to take 20 plus shots. Like he had a lot of shots early on, but he also was like, he missed a few. So I personally was not like, oh, we need to feed the big fella all night tonight, which the Bulls did. So props to the Bulls for doing it. But, I don't necessarily need Vooch to be shooting 23 shots when he's only shooting like 40% from the field tonight. But yeah, he got the 10th rebound, so that's good to see. Hopefully, some team comes calling. I know the Warriors, we'll talk about the trades later in the stream here, because I do want to talk about that. But I'm hoping that, that Warriors trade does go through. I don't understand it personally for the Warriors. It really doesn't make much sense to me. But, yeah, I'm hoping it goes through, honestly. Oh, he wins this dunk contest. Well, let's talk about Buzelis in the dunk contest. Yeah, I'll be very happy if Buzelis wins the dunk contest. I mean, what people have, the very few videos we do see of Buzelis dunking, it's pretty impressive. I'm sure, though, his teammates have more, what they see in practice and stuff like that. So I'm hoping it's going to work out well. My only thing is that Mac McClung did agree to the beginning of the dunk contest. So he has some pretty stiff competition this year. So I'll be impressed if he does win it. Like, if Buzelis does win it this year, that's a really impressive win where it's not just like, oh, he's just like clearly the most athletic player. Like, Mac McClung being there is pretty impressive. Like, that's going to be a hard guy to beat. So I'm hoping that Buzelis can be up to the task. Billy Donovan finally didn't kill the momentum with bad subs. Yeah, Billy actually had some like interesting subs tonight. Like, Zach played the entire first quarter, which that's not typical. Zach usually comes out around the 3-minute mark in the first quarter, but you just let Zach play the entire first quarter. Buzelis came in as the first guy tonight, which that hasn't been normal, right? And then in the third quarter, he then actually took Levine out early. He took Levine out with like 4 minutes left to go and played Vooch the entire first quarter. So, more staggering of Vooch and Zach in this game, where you're playing less minutes without one of them on the floor. We did obviously then see in the fourth quarter where neither of them were on the floor to start the fourth quarter, and the Bulls went on that run. So props to, again, the other guys tonight really showed out, because the Bulls offense without Zach has been dreadful, but I do think it was just the Nuggets' lack of shot making in that bench unit is just sparked the Bulls tonight. So again, props to them for taking advantage, but you keep this in mind. I don't think you always face a struggling bench like this consistently. Yeah, it was just different to see that between like obviously the two vets, but then we really saw a lot of like kind of different units. Like the first half, right? We saw Taylor Horton Tucker check in. We saw Julian Phillips also check in the second quarter. Dalen Terry also checked in the second quarter. So it was just kind of all over the place. But that second half for Billy Donovan was much better, where he let guys just kind of play out like their kind of rotational stint. And I would much rather just kind of see that than kind of be like, oh, I don't really like how this guy's playing. Like, let's just kind of swap these guys out and like just kind of search for other people for a spark. So yeah, this was much better from Billy tonight in the second half. The first half was interesting. I think the Bulls played 11 guys in that first half, but this was better tonight, and I hope to see more of that from Billy, where you just kind of let guys play through their mistakes, right? Terry's three-point stroke looked different to me this game. Remind me of DeRozan three-point stroke. That's actually a pretty good comparison. Yeah, I don't know necessarily if it was DeRozan one-to-one, obviously, but yeah, it looked a lot better tonight. So again, if Dalen Terry can hit the three, awesome. He just hasn't done that this year, unfortunately. Hey, man, I'm glad to see you. I'm confused by this team. Well, truly, I want to lose keep this year's pick because this draft class is stacked. Yeah, I want to keep this year's pick. Like, again, just make it clear. I want to keep this year's pick. It's a very important thing for me to keep this pick because while the younger players did show out tonight, I've been pretty consistent in saying that I do think the Bulls still lack young talent. I mean, we can just go up and down the list again, but I won't do that. The Bulls just need to add more young talent any way possible. So, like, whether you want the rebuild or you want the Bulls to just try to stay competitive, like, you need to add more young talent anyway. So I do hope that the Bulls just try to keep the pick. The 76ers are, again, like they were coming into tonight, they were on, like, right behind us. The win obviously doesn't help that, but if the Bulls, win like this, then I'm fine with it. But yeah, I do hope the Bulls still keep the pick. Right now, again, the Bulls have a 97% chance to keep it at this current moment in time. So I'm hoping that the 3% doesn't come back to bite us, if that's where we do end up landing. What's going on, Camille? Good to see you. Appreciate you checking in. Beyond turnovers, Giddey had a good defense in it and had a good two-man game with Vooch on offense to get the Bulls in the game in the beginning. Yeah, like, I think Giddey's pick and roll tonight looked a lot better than usual. Like, we actually saw him get some opportunities to look for a shot off the pick and roll, and then he was able to find Vooch as well. I do think that was maybe a little bit because Jokic was on the floor, and like Jokic isn't really trying that hard on that end, but yeah, much better overall. So I'm hoping that continues, but I do have my doubts about that. But yeah, like biggest thing for me with Giddey is just that better defense. He shot the 3 when it was necessary. He had some, I think he could have probably pushed the ball a little bit more, but he did push it at times, which is good. So yeah, that's just good to say. Giddey's effort on defense and the boards is much appreciated. I liked him hitting the floor to save loose ball too. Not enough guys want to do that on this team. Yeah, I also do like that from Giddey. I will say though, like recently, what's been happening. I don't know if you guys have been watching like the Magic and Pistons, but I think we're all aware Jane Ivey, having his leg broken from Cole Anthony. Which I'm not here to say like Cole Anthony's a dirty player. He's not. But I just like I do appreciate obviously guys getting on the floor and like diving for the ball, but I also just like I do caution guys because I've always said this about like your best player. Like I don't need your best player diving on the floor unless it's like in the middle of the NBA Finals or something. So like people always complain like Levine doesn't get on the floor. I'm like I don't really need him to get on the floor honestly. First off I don't want him to get hurt, but we also have to be careful about hurting other people because when the ball's on the floor and a large amount of traffic goes to that one spot, guys could get injured. But I think Giddey overall this year, like he's done like a really decent job of like, okay, I'm gonna die for this one, where it's like I'm not gonna run into anybody. I have a chance of getting the basketball cleanly. Good, like that's good to see, right? The play with Io today, which again I'm not saying Io's a bad player or anything, but when I don't remember who had the ball, but it was I don't know if it was Strother, it might have been, but when Io like went for that, like he tried to wrap the guy up and like try to get the jump ball, like I get nervous for Io when he did that, because like he basically like kind of like ran into the guy, and he committed a foul. So yeah, I appreciate the hustle. It's just like, please be careful. You know, one loose ball in like the middle of like a second quarter is not worth hurting yourself for. So yeah, just be. I just want everyone to be aware, because I am always just scared about that sort of stuff. Did you give your thoughts on possible Beal deal? We'll talk about that. I promise you. We will talk about all the trades, the Bradley Beal stuff. I promise you we'll talk about it. That will, no matter what, I promise you we'll talk about it. Billy says Zach's going to miss a few games. He's a baby due soon, if I remember correctly. Oh, okay. Yeah, so yeah, Zach Levine is having his third child, so congrats to him and his family. I guess the Bulls are gonna go to Boston without him, so that'd be interesting to see. I'll double check that though. Yeah, congrats to Zach. Yeah, we'll see how many games he does miss though. It is kind of poor timing before the trade deadline, but you know, it can't control that necessarily. So let me just really quickly check that. Yeah. So yeah, Casey Johnson did tweet this out. All right, we'll see what the starting lineup is going to look like. I'm hoping Kobe can return quickly, which Kobe won't play in Boston, but maybe Kobe can return soon. Because I mean, at least right now, I don't want Patrick Williams back in the starting lineup. So I would look to do anything in anything possible to keep Patrick Williams out of the starting lineup after tonight's performance. So congrats to the Levine family, and hope it all goes well for them. In terms of timing, it's not great because of the trade deadline, but yeah, I hope it's all great in terms of health and everything for the Levine family. So congrats to them, and just hoping it goes well. Do you think we move any players? Well, again, we'll get to it after I get through all the chat here. I guess Patrick played on bench in college so long that he's just comfortable with it now. We have a whole cycle of Patrick doing good off the bench, then does bad starting. Well, he's also had some like mad games off the bench too. So I don't want to be like, oh, it's like he just needs to come off the bench. Like, I'm willing to just push it now because he's just played so badly, right? Where just like, yeah, just bring him off the bench from here on out. But yeah, like maybe it is just he's just used to being off the bench. So if he becomes like DeAndre Hunter 2.0, like great, we'll do it. Was actually won a game, yeah, and against Denver Nuggets of all people. Billy's playing matchups tonight. Zach matching Jokic and Pat matching Gore in the first half. Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Honestly, maybe that was the plan for Billy Donovan, which he did talk about matching Patrick with Aaron Gordon. So yeah, maybe that was the plan all night. Patrick looked more comfortable knowing he was the number one option with the second unit tonight. I don't know if he was necessarily the number one option with the second unit, but he obviously needs to score in the second unit, which like great, right? Like if he is, I guess if he just understands like he needs to score, then he's gonna hopefully give you more of that. But again, like my biggest thing tonight for Patrick Williams wasn't necessarily his scoring. It was the effort on the glass. It was his defensive effort, right? Like the scoring's awesome, which again, love to see it. But it's more so about, hey, you gave me 3 offensive rebounds. You gave me 8 rebounds in total. He's played 28 minutes, which is like you've been typically playing in the starting lineup anyway. So in these minutes, you gave me a lot more impact off the bench than what you've been doing recently in the starting lineup. So maybe you're right. That is just like, hey, you're needed when you come off the bench. Your impact is needed. So maybe that's just what is needed for Patrick Williams to be unlocked. But yeah, this was awesome to watch. The scoring, again, the cherry on top for me is the scoring. It's not what's, you know, necessary or like what makes this performance by Patrick Williams, in my opinion, like the best thing. It's his rebounding. It's his effort defensively. He looked actively engaged at both ends of the floor. Like that's motor. Like that's stuff that he just needs to do no matter what sort of role he's in. So again, if he needs to come off the bench to give you 3 offensive rebounds per night, awesome. We'll do that. Patrick looked more comfortable knowing it. Oh, sorry, I agree with. I disagree. I think going for the floor is an increased chance in injury, but that's how it goes. I agree with be careful, but I think people should try, like how we saw with Giddey. I don't know if Viper's trying. I've been telling people about this recently. Like, 90s basketball, obviously, or even let's just say like early like 2010 or 2000, yeah, 2010s basketball. I just like people would dive on the floor a lot, and I understand that like everyone's like, oh, the game is like so soft in today's game. Like, I don't think that's the case. I don't think today's game is soft. I think just the offense is just better in today's world. It's just, I just personally get scared when I watch a bunch of people dive on the floor. Again, in the middle of a second quarter, I don't need that from somebody. Like, I've been pretty adamant about that. Like, if there's a loose ball and it's like a high amount of traffic in that sort of spot, like, I don't need someone diving on the floor for that ball in like the middle of the second quarter. If it's fourth quarter and crunch time, I think that's, you know, that's a different story, right? But when it comes to like in the middle of a game, like, I don't think it's really that big of a deal. I know people disagree with me on this, but like the chance of you hurting yourself for that one possession, like in the middle of a game, I just get nervous. Not just for the player diving, but then the players around. I don't need like any sort of injuries. Just like I would like to avoid any sort of injuries with that. So I don't know. That's just always my opinion on it. Like if you had to ask me, like, for example, like if I had Luka Doncic on my squad, would I want Luka Doncic to be diving on the floor for loose basketballs like every other game? Like, I personally would not want that. Same thing with Kyrie Irving, same thing with others, right? Like, I don't want, like, especially my stars to be doing such a thing. Because I just think the risk versus reward is a little bit scary. The others, sure, like the Alex Carusos of the world, okay, maybe. But even then, I still question it, because if he does end up getting injured, then diving for a loose basketball, which you have like a 50-50 shot at getting, and you end up hurting yourself and you're out for 20 games, is much more dreadful to the Bulls than just letting the basketball just go. Or to whoever Alex Caruso is playing for, right? Like, that's just not worth it, at least in my head. So, again, that's just my opinion about it. Superstars, at least for me, is like a no-no. Like, unless it's like, obviously, like, big playoff moment, like, don't try. It's not worth it in the end, at least in my opinion. I'd be pissed with Beal. I would also be pissed with Beal, and I'll explain my thoughts in a little bit. Not Beal flopping for fouls a lot, and beat it how we saw Russ tonight. I could do without. Oh, I agree. Yeah, the flopping for fouls is something I could definitely live without. Like, Westbrook was specifically with the screens tonight. I was just like, bro, like, Westbrook, like, he's so good at it because he's so damn athletic. So it's like, if he's able to sell it, it makes it look a lot worse than it actually is. But yeah, that sort of, you know, him, you know, the Jalen Smith one specifically was ridiculous. I was really annoyed watching that one, where I'm just like, bro, like, you weren't, like, Jalen Smith didn't move. Like the Christian Brown screen, which happened to play after that one, right? Like, Christian Brown clearly threw a forearm, and I'm like, okay, like, if that was Westbrook getting hit by that screen, then yeah, we can all be like, yeah, that probably hurt. But the way Westbrook came off with that screen, and like, it was barely even a brush screen, and like, he's like, oh god, I'm limping, like, yeah, that was annoying to watch. Like, again, I can definitely live without that. Yeah, that's definitely something the league needs to get rid of. Monta starting in Boston? Yeah, we'll see. If Buzella starts in Boston, that'll be very interesting to watch, because he'll be guarding Tatum then. That'll be very interesting to watch if Buzella is starting in Boston. At least 20 minutes minimum for Buzella from now on would be great, even if he's not playing good. I completely agree. Yeah. I mean, he basically got 20 minutes tonight, right? He was like 7 seconds off of 20 minutes, right? Like, I can live with that, right? 20 minutes is definitely something I will, like, if he can just get close to it, I'll be very happy. Again, if he's not playing great, I don't care. What do the Bulls have to lose, honestly? His development is very important for the future of this franchise, so him playing through mistakes is good. I want to see more of it. Matt, dunks are increased in injury and fully comprehend a lot. A lot of them could be layups, but I prefer them. Honestly, I would honestly disagree sometimes with that idea as well. Obviously, a dunk in traffic, I understand what you're saying. But I think you could also make the argument that if it's a fast break opportunity and you're like, go for like a major tomahawk slam, like that's a chance where you could like you could argue like, yeah, that looks bad. But if you're just talking about like a simple dunk where you're going up for just two hands, like that's honestly might be the safe play. Versus like trying to like do an overall layup. And you're able to make sure you calmly let yourself down compared to not being able to catch yourself. But yeah, I don't think those two, the versus like, okay, you're gonna be diving in traffic versus a dunk. I think those are very two different things. I think one is a much higher risk versus a dunk, but again, my opinion at the end of the day. Not saying guys should be reckless, but going after relatively normal effort 50-50 balls isn't too much to ask. It's like how the team doesn't take charges at all, even the physically safe ones. Well, I think personally the charge is also that's something that I also think might need to be looked at, because that's a play where I get nervous for a lot of people. The charge is something that I could also maybe live without. That's a play where, like, I understand there's like safe charges and then there's like the ones where you get absolutely toppled over, but you're basically putting yourself in front of a running freight train, and then the person that is the running freight train is then just immediately like basically running to a wall, and not to mention then you fall and that person can trip over you. Like that's something I personally would also look to get rid of. But I understand that that is part of the game, right? It is a physical game at the end of the day. But the one thing, at least for me, is like the whole restricted areas thing. Like I would maybe look into it a little bit more, where like you would have to like, you know, bring the circle out maybe more a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. Like I can probably just live with the charge. Again, I understand, you know, 50-50 balls. I get it. Everyone wants everyone to dive on the floor for 50-50 ball. I just say that like if you're able to get it and there's like no one there, yeah, you do it, right? But if it's a heavily trafficked area where it's like, for example, the Cole Anthony one with Jaden Ivey, that was in the middle of the floor. Like that was specifically in the middle of the floor, and you knew that there was gonna be guys there. That was unnecessary, I think, in my opinion, from Cole Anthony. Like that was not the proper time to go ahead and make that sort of diving play for that ball. So again, I just think guys just need to be a little bit smarter with it. I'm not saying like again, like Alex Caruso will always dive for 50-50 ball. Like I'm not saying he needs to stop, but you know, I think there's just maybe some times like where it's like, let's maybe reconsider this one, to make sure that one, you don't get injured, but also to make sure that the others other people don't get injured. Just be more mindful of it, because again, you missing 20 games is not worth it for a 50-50 ball, at least in my opinion. So, and that's just again my opinion. There are a bunch of individual players with more charges drawn than the entire Bulls roster combined, which seems like something more than being injury cautious. Well, I think it's also just the lack of defensive talent on this roster, right? Like the Bulls don't have a Caruso to draw fouls or charges, right? Patrick Williams is not a guy that's going to be doing that either. Lonzo Ball, obviously that's not his strength, right? So like the best defensive players in terms of for the Bulls, right? Like the IO, like Lonzo and, you know, Williams and Buzelis, right? Their defensive traits are not drawing charges, right? Drawing charges is an art. That's a specific IQ to have, and understanding timings, but also then selling it properly. The Bulls' best defensive players just don't have that. So the guys that do even try defensively, like they just will never draw those charges. So I as much as I want to say like, oh, it's the Bulls being cautious, I just also think it's just the lack of talent to draw charges on this roster. You just don't have the guys to do so. Not to mention then, like, I mean, Kevin Love is not the greatest defensive player in the world, but he is able to draw charges pretty effectively. So again, it's an IQ thing at the end of the day as well. And the Bulls just don't have that. I mean, we talked about how bad this team is defensively, so I didn't expect this Bulls team to come in and be drawing charges consistently. The one guy that I think maybe could do it and sell it pretty well is probably Josh Giddey. Like, he'd be maybe the one guy that I'm looking at where I'm like, okay, well, I understand that you're not the best, you don't have the physical tools defensively, like, you don't have, like, the long wingspan, you don't have great verticality, So if your best option, honestly, for a drive to the basket is for you to draw a charge to stop a layup, like, yeah, maybe that's something you need to look into. But he probably will never do that. So again, just lack of talent for it on this roster at the end of the day. It is also worth noting though that like the Bulls like don't really have like a small guard besides Javon Carter, and Javon Carter doesn't really play. So like the Kyle Lowrys of the world, right? Like, you know, Kyle Lowry draws a bunch of charges at like 6 foot. Well, he's 6 foot. Like that's his best, clearly his best defensive option is to just draw the charge. So there's also just that. Like you don't have like a small guard that's like looking to draw the charge at the end of the day. 6 is 3 out of 5 for the season for what it's worth. That's honestly not that shocking to me. But yeah, just again, it just shows you the lack of talent for drawing charges on this roster. Where your backup center, who isn't really that good defensively in the first place, is the guy that has 3 of the 5. Yeah, and I'm gonna make a bet that Jalen Smith's charges, like it's not even him like standing right ahead of the restricted area and falling down. Like I think it's honestly like he got elbowed or something on like a drive, and like, you know, he was right place at the right time. Yeah, it's an art. The Bulls just don't have the players for it. And you know, like like the one thing DeMar DeRozan actually did a pretty decent job of was drawing the charges and on defense. Like that's like the one thing he was actually decent at. Not to mention though, like he was a guy that didn't really do anything else defensively. Like he didn't guard in the perimeter, he didn't rotate effectively, he didn't switch effectively. But the one thing he did do is that if you saw a guy running like line drive to the basket and he was there, he would just stand there and take a charge pretty effectively. So again, it's an art. Bulls just don't have the guys for it. So I think it's personally okay. Like I think you'll be fine without the charge. You can be a good defensive team without the charge, or drawing a bunch of charges. So ideally you have those guys in the future, but for now I'm okay without it. It's all good. At the end of the day. So just my opinion. Not here to be trying to sway people about certain things. Just saying, you know, hopefully players are more mindful of just injuries and such, because you know I think we can all agree that like something like a Grayson Allen issue with how you do with Caruso, like that's obviously bad. I understand it's like, well, yeah, he clearly pulled down Alex Caruso in the air. My whole thing is just that if you're not aware, when a guy dives for the ball on the floor, they're also in the air. Like it's not as high in the air, but they're also in the air. They're not in full control of their body in that sort of moment in time. So there's just a lot of things that can happen. Grayson Allen obviously did a dirty play. What Cole Anthony did was not a dirty play. It just clearly was a lack of awareness, at least in my opinion. So I always just caution people. I'm like, listen, I understand we all want to see, you know, heart, hustle, and muscle, which what Stacey King likes to call it. You know, Joakim Noah and Dennis Rodman were 2 guys that were diving for loose balls constantly. If you're trying to save a ball going from out of bounds, like, you absolutely should try your hardest. I'm not saying to stop trying that, okay? I'm saying that the balls that are live balls in the middle of the floor, and it's like, you know, the opposing team has a chance to get it, you have a chance to get it. A lot of guys are going to be collapsing onto that area. I'm just saying, like, just be aware. Like, you know, if you see like 3 other guys coming at the same spot, like maybe you don't try. If it's like in the middle of the entire floor and it's like you have like a 20%, or let's just say like a 10% chance of even getting it, right? Like it probably isn't worth you trying to get it. 50-50 balls though, like if it's a big play at the end of the game, like yeah, I would hope that you try your hardest with it while also trying to be smart. But I don't need you diving for a loose ball where it's like you have a 10% chance of getting it. And it's like, you know, you could really have a chance of hurting yourself or others. I'm like, let's just be careful about that, because I don't need you missing 20 games because you decided to try to for a ball that you really didn't have a chance at, or, you know, 50-50 ball, but there's a lot of traffic. Like, it's okay, you know, we can live with those sort of things. So, and I don't want players missing time. I always just would do anything in my willpower to try to not miss as much time for certain players. All right, I had a rant for that. Okay, so once again, nice win for the Bulls tonight. 53 shots from the 3-point range, made 24. Awesome. Assists, as you can see for the Bulls, when they make their shots, their assist numbers are great. 35 assists tonight. Nuggets had 36 assists. Stacey King was constantly talking about how the Denver Nuggets, man, their passing is incredible. And I agree. The Nuggets passing is damn incredible. I think that having Jokic and Westbrook, two guys that were probably going to be the two recent modern day players to average triple-double, like, yeah, your passing is going to be incredible. However, though, that should not be taking away what the Bulls did tonight is their passing. When the Bulls make their shots, right, their passing, I mean, their assist numbers look amazing. Like, they're like, oh, wow, what a great passing team. Hence tonight, like, yeah, you even had 17 turnovers tonight, but you still passed the ball effectively. Whereas, like, yeah, you had 35 assists, you had 98 shots total, 53 from the three-point line. Like, that's what the Bulls team should look like. So, people were talking about the assist numbers kind of going down recently, where it's like it looked more stagnant on offense. I think maybe the Bulls slowed down a little bit in terms of their offensive flow, but I just honestly think that the assist numbers were down because the guys were not making some shots. I think if guys just made like even just half the amount of shots that they were taking compared to the amount of shots they were missing, the Bulls numbers on the assist numbers look like 20 assists consistently. But the rough stretch was the rough stretch. So the assist numbers were great tonight, and I hope that Bulls fans understand. It's like I think that this Bulls team continues to pass the rock really effectively. It's just that if you don't make your shots, the assist numbers won't go up. Obviously tonight, a lot of guys made some shots tonight, so makes things look a lot better overall. So I'm really happy to see that, and guys get rewarded with their overall assists tonight. And moving forward, hopefully we can continue that because guys continue to make shots. But that being said, though, we're going to move on from tonight's game, and we're going to start talking about a lot of things that's been going on around the league. It's trade deadline season, and there's been a lot of stuff going around in terms of what the Bulls could be doing. A lot of reports, which, trust some, don't trust others. Brian Windhorst had a big thing that he did tweet out. And the biggest thing I think a lot of people were talking about today is are the Bulls going to be trading for Bradley Beal? So we're going to start there, okay? I'm currently scrolling through Will Gottlieb's Twitter because I want to bring up something that I think is important to look at. Because if you're wondering how the hell is this possible for the Bulls, okay? For the Bulls to get Bradley Beal, which I understand a lot of Bulls fans don't want Bradley Beal. And I'm like, hey, I'm right there with you. I do not want Bradley Beal on this roster, okay? I think getting Bradley Beal would be an absolute detriment to this roster moving forward. I understand it would be like, hey, we're actually rebuilding, but that contract is basically putting yourself in jail. Would not advise the Bulls to go and get it unless you're getting like really good first round picks out of it, where it's like, yeah, I can guarantee like these first round picks, which I would say you would need three. You would need 3 first round picks. I would just say that I'm like, okay, if you're gonna be really trading for this guy, then these first round picks better be like you would hope that most of them are lottery. Yeah, I'll just say that for now. Like, at least most of them are lottery, okay? But if you're wondering, like, okay, what would actually be like a legit shot at this, where it's like, yeah, the Bulls would have to trade Levine because that's the only way they're gonna be able to take on Beal's contract. But like, what's a legit actual trade for the Bulls where they end up getting Bradley Beal out of it and they get like a bunch of draft capital, and it makes sense for like all the teams involved, okay? So Will Gottlieb tweeted this out. This was tweeted out yesterday, okay? This would be a potential trade for the Bulls to go ahead and maybe do. Okay, I guess I can't fully zoom in on this because it's weird, but whatever. I'll just go ahead and read out loud because this is what the Bulls would be doing. The Bulls in this sort of deal, it would be a 5-team trade, okay, which is insane to think about, but it's the case. They would be getting Pat Connaughton, Jared Vanderbilt, and Bradley Beal, okay? They would also be getting 3 first-round picks, a 2031 Milwaukee pick, which is probably like your best-looking pick out of it, 2029 Lakers first-round pick, and then a 2025 Cleveland pick, that's basically the trade with the Phoenix Suns right now, where it's like, you're basically getting like the worst pick out of like 3 different teams in 2025, okay? So there's that. The Heat would acquire Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis, and Gabe Vincent, and they would get they would get 2 first-round picks out of it. The Milwaukee Bucks would get Zach LaVine, Torrey Craig, and Kevin Love. The Lakers would get Nikola Vucevic and Josh Richardson, and the Phoenix Suns would get Jimmy Butler out of it. Okay. Now, if you actually kind of like stop and think about this, like in terms of just the players, forget the picks for a second. In terms of like the players moving around, right? And besides the Bulls, again, like I don't want Bradley Beal, but for the other 4 teams, right? For Miami, they're shedding salary. They're getting, they're getting more salary cap relief in the future. They also get 2 first-round picks out of it. Okay, makes a lot of sense. They also remain competitive with this sort of trade. The Bucks, they've been kind of not exactly thrilled with what Chris Middleton's been giving them recently. So then you would get LaVine instead. You would also get Torrey Craig and Kevin Love to come off your bench. Pretty solid depth pieces, right? For the Lakers, maybe not. Doesn't make as much sense. I think Anthony Davis still needs to play the 5, but if he really wants to play the 4, then here's your trade. Nikola Vucevic will be your starting center for this team. Okay, and then obviously for the Phoenix Suns. They're doing anything with the willpower to get Jimmy Butler onto the roster. You have to trade Bradley Beal to do so. This would obviously get Jimmy Butler, which is a very good idea for them. For the Bulls, it doesn't make much sense in my head. I understand that it's like, hey, you get 3 first-round picks, you get Bradley Beal. Like, okay, maybe it's worth it. At least in my head, it's not worth it. But this is kind of like a framework, though, for like, maybe this is a possibility. If you had to ask me today of like what's the chances of a Bradley Beal trade to the Bulls happening, where it would absolutely be like a 3-team deal at bare minimum, probably a 4-team deal, right? The chance of this happening where Bradley Beal does end up with the Bulls is pretty slim. Okay. Like I'm saying like 5%, like that's like the highest I'm even willing to go. There's a lot of things that have to actually happen for this sort of deal to actually work out. If you're wondering why Bradley Beal would waive his no trade clause to come to the Bulls, it's because Billy Donovan was his head coach. Okay, so like the idea would be like, oh, Bradley Beal gets to come back and play for Billy Donovan. Bradley Beal then also gets to be like the number 1 option on this roster to try to like kind of, I don't want to say like fix his career again, but like it would kind of be like a way to kind of rejuvenate his career and not be the 3rd option like he is in Phoenix right now. And if the Bulls are going to be stupid and be like, hey, we're going to still be competitive, then you can maybe sell competitiveness for Bradley Beal. I doubt it personally. I don't know why the hell Bradley Beal will be looking to come to the Chicago Bulls anyway. Like, there's no reason for this to happen, in my opinion, for Bradley Beal. So, again, why would Bradley Beal want to come to the Bulls? There's no reason for him to waive his no trade clause. That's that, right? For the Bulls, it doesn't make much sense, at least in my opinion, if the picks are going to be in 2029 and then 2031. Because if you're actively going to be rebuilding, if you're the Bulls, then I want these picks to be in 2025, 2026, and 2027. Latest I'll go is 2028, maybe 2029 if it's like, it's going to be like a top 10 probably pick. Like, for example, like that Lakers pick in 2029, maybe you can sell me on it. I probably wouldn't really feel too good about it though, because it is Lakers at the end of the day. They'll always have money. They'll probably be a decent team in 2029. So again, like, why would you do this if you're the Bulls? And then one more time, just for everyone, just to understand this. Bradley Beal makes more money than Zach LaVine in the next 2 seasons. Okay, Bradley Beal also has a player option. So like, why the hell would the Bulls want to hard cap, or not hard cap, but handicap themselves with a bigger contract to give them less flexibility? I personally would not understand it. At least in my head, I understand that Brian Windhorst has said that the Bulls have talked about it. If the Bulls at least have some sort of head on their body, like, and they're not actually stupid, you don't do this deal. Okay, there are just much better options for you to do this, to do deals. Trading for Bradley Beal makes no damn sense. Again, unless you're like getting like a bunch of 1st-round picks out of it, where it's like, yeah, we'll take these picks, and we'll feel pretty good about it. At least in my head, just to trade Zach LaVine off the roster for a worse contract and a worse player overall, with a no trade clause makes no damn sense. So at least in my opinion, this is pretty slim. I'm sure that there is some sort of deal out there where it might, like, there's a chance it could go through and it makes sense, but that sort of structure of a deal to happen is pretty small to take place. So again, probably not gonna happen overall. Palace some positive comments post game about having more opportunity off the bench is interesting. I'll look into it, AV Breeze, after we talk about this. 5-team trade, I know, like 3-team trades are already hard enough to pull off. 5-team trades, it's just like basically impossible, especially with the new CBA. So again, yeah. Also, 3 picks for Zach Vooch and taking trash contracts. Nah, yeah, also that, yeah. You're also trading Vooch in this deal, so you're not getting like second rounders out of it and salary cap relief. So yeah. Bill Levine to the Bucks. I do not want a division route against Zach. Good win tonight. Hey, what's going on, Christopher? Appreciate you checking in. Yeah, good win tonight. I understand the thought process of like, yeah, I don't want to see Levine with the Bucks. All I'm gonna say to that though is just like, if that is actually like, if you're able to trade Levine to the Bucks and like get like a really solid return, I understand it's division rival, but I'm just like, you do it. You're probably not gonna be relevant for like the next couple of seasons anyway if you do this sort of deal. So as much as it's gonna suck, you know, if Levine comes to town for, you know, two times a year and you face him 4 times a year, like it's gonna suck, you know, if he like puts up 30 pieces on you. If you're just gonna be bad, like it doesn't really matter too much. Again, I understand the thought process, but if you're rebuilding, like it's probably okay. I personally would not be like, oh, division rival, don't do this. Like, you know, I think it'd be okay at the end of the day. I just don't like the idea of redoing things with Beal. Might as well keep Zach. Yeah, that's also why I just think I will just wait until the offseason just to trade Zach then. If this is like the only deal you get. Again, it's not even guaranteed you'll be able to do it because Bradley Beal has to waive his no trade clause. But yeah, I would just wait for the offseason to see if you can trade Zach then. So I've been reported that Beal doesn't want to go to one a cold city or 2 to losing team, with Chicago specifically mentioned as somewhere he would wait for. So yeah, that is also what I was trying to get to here. So according to Fred Katz, and I don't really know if he's that reliable, okay, but he does write for the New York Times and or the Athletic. But this was then reported. Phoenix Suns guard Bradley Beal will not waive his no trade clause to go to Chicago Bulls. So if you're wondering, like, is this a real possibility, okay? I do think that the Bulls and the Suns and the other teams have discussed this possibility. Like, I do think that this was discussed. The chance of this happening, though, I do think is pretty slim. Like, unless you're able to, like, somehow convince Bradley Beal of something else, like, again, doubt it. But I do think that, like, this was actively discussed. Again, chance of this happening, pretty small. Bradley Beal basically like, why would I waive a no trade clause for this? Makes a lot of sense. So if you're wondering if this deal is going to potentially happen, probably not. I'll feel okay with this deal not going through, honestly. Now, okay, I want to go immediately to shift gears to the Warriors, because this right here is something that I just I've not been expecting this at all when it comes to this sort of deal, because I just personally don't think it makes much sense for the Warriors. I understand that when it comes to the Warriors, you know, their big men have been pretty god-awful this year, more specifically with Trace Jackson-Davis. Looney is Looney. Like, he's not supposed to give you much offensive production, but they're both two bigs that miss a lot of shots at the basket currently. They're not really getting any sort of offensive production from either of those two players, so it's like, oh, well, if you're then going to trade for Vucevic, then you at least get some sort of offensive production out of the center position. I personally still just, it doesn't make much sense, at least in my head, for it, because I just don't understand why you would trade for a center that doesn't really have much defensive capabilities. Not to mention then, like, he needs the basketball for him to put up, you know, consistent 20 points efficiently per night. It will help that he's playing next to Steph Curry, but, you know, I don't know. Like, I have my doubts about it. Like, you know, Wiggins is still on the roster in this sort of sense, so we'll see. I'm probably gonna be proven wrong about this, because I basically was like kind of willing to bet, like, I don't know why the Warriors would trade for Vucevic. Like, it makes no sense. But at least for what we've been hearing, like, they're trying. So I guess I'll eat my words now. But let's talk about this, okay? So first and foremost, if you're the Bulls, all right, I personally would not be expecting any sort of first round pick from the Warriors in this sort of deal. Vooch is 34. He's not getting any younger. And again, defensive liability. Vooch has had some pretty bad seasons recently. So if you're the Bulls, like, you have to take that into account. Like, if Vooch is playing at this level consistently the past 3 of the 4 seasons, then maybe you actually have a chance of getting a first round pick. But last year was dreadful. Like, Vooch last year was basically an untradeable contract. But this year, because he's played better, is the reason why you have a chance of even trading him, okay? So if you're wondering on what the trade would be, okay, you're obviously getting Looney in this sort of deal. And then I'm going to assume that they're going to be willing to trade GP2 as well, okay? Which is, you know, I do think that will actually be kind of like a significant loss for them if that is the case. But, you know, we'll see if that is what they decide to move on from. And then I don't know who they're going to choose. Like, maybe it's Trace Jackson-Davis. Maybe it's Lindy Waters. Maybe it's Guy Santos. I don't really know who it would be, but someone from this sort of range would also have to maybe be moved if they're going to go this sort of route. But I personally would be like, I want Moses Moody, or if you're the Bulls, you might just take Kyle Anderson, okay? In this sort of sense, then, the Bulls would also be trading, like, Javon Carter. Sorry, not Javon Carter. Torrey Craig to the Warriors as well. And so this sort of deal, if you're wondering, in terms of money, this would work, okay? Bulls would acquire $3 million. The Warriors would lose $3 million. The Warriors are hard capped. They're close to the hard cap, so they probably should be looking for trades where they send out more money. If it's not, you know, Kyle Anderson, right, that's going to be in this sort of deal, then I have to, I'm going to look at this again because I always mess it up. But like this, yeah, this probably doesn't work. Just gotta check one more time here. Okay, this does work actually. Okay, so like this would also work. So anybody with like Guy Santos's contract or higher would also work. Really quickly though, I just want to see because like this via the minimum might work here. Okay, no, it doesn't. Unfortunately, then it's too much for the Warriors. Yeah, they're hard caps. That's the problem. So, you know, whatever you want to like do, whatever sort of combination, like it's up to you. If I had to make a guess, though, like it would probably be somewhere along the lines of something like this, and then sorry, hold on. I want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Like, yeah, Warriors require more money this way, so we'll do minimum. All right, well, just give me Lindy Waters, and we'll just call it a day. This doesn't work either. Great, awesome. Okay. Huh. I don't know then. Yeah, minimum. Sorry, hold on. Just give me 1 second. I just want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. Chicago. Yeah, I'm not too sure then. It might. I'll have to look into it. All right. So if you remove Torrey Craig, then it's gonna be something like along the lines of this. If you add in Torrey Craig, it's gonna have to like include like maybe Kyle Anderson or I doubt we get Moses Moody out of this deal, but I would love Moses Moody personally. I just don't know if it's going to be possible. Finally, a win. Do you think Lonzo should start permanently? He seemed to be the difference maker today. So Dusk, I don't know, honestly. I personally don't know if Lonzo should be continuously starting with the minutes restriction. Like, he's probably going to be on his minutes restriction throughout the rest of the season. So if he's able to do this consistently and feel fine, then sure. I personally, though, once Kobe does come back, and assuming that everyone is healthy, I think Lonzo will go back to the bench. And he'll still get his 25 minutes a game. Like, I'm not saying that like he's going to have less minutes, but I think just putting Kobe back in the starting lineup, and keeping Io personally in the starting lineup with Patrick Williams on the bench, I think is probably the best move the Bulls could do. Because Io in the starting lineup is very good, and Patrick Williams for some reason plays better off the bench. So don't know why. It doesn't make much sense to me, but you know, he came off the bench in college, so maybe he's just used to it. So with Lonzo, honestly, I think he can be pretty impactful no matter if he's off the bench or starting. It is nice to see him in the starting lineup, but I think no matter what, he'll be okay. Starting or off the bench at the end of the day. But yeah, it is nice to see a win with the younger players kind of being like the catalyst to the win, which is great to see. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out the math for this Vooch deal, but we'll just leave it here, okay? I understand Golden State would have to waive a person for this sort of actually, okay, hold on. Oh, sorry, they would have to add a person. Oh, okay. God, I'm messing things up already. But basically, though, what I was trying to get to with this sort of deal with Vooch, okay? My guess is that the picks that are being offered is this pick here from Miami from the Warriors, and then like probably the 2031 pick from the Warriors as well. This is probably what you're being offered right now for Vucevic, okay? In terms of like the salary, the second round picks, it's probably just 2 seconds, okay? If you're wondering about this in terms of like how I feel about this sort of deal, okay? I personally think the Bulls should accept this. I don't know what the framework would be. Like, it's like you're gonna probably be taking Looney, and then it's like one of GP2 or Kyle Anderson, or maybe even all three. And then, you know, maybe it's a salary filler if they want Torrey Craig, then it has to be like all three. If it's not, then like this is like sort of like the deal. I personally think the Bulls should accept this. If this is what's being offered right now, which is what I think is being offered from the Warriors, from what the reports are, I think the Bulls should be accepting this, because I don't think you're going to get a first for Vucevic. I understand that people like want a first for Vucevic, and the front office is like, well, we traded 2 firsts for Vucevic, so we should get a first back. He's 34. He had a bad season last year. I understand that he's not on an expiring contract, but at the end of the day, for a defensive liability at center, and a guy that is only getting older, like, you're not going to get that much value in return for him. So I would personally, if I'm the Bulls, I would be looking to take this this sort of deal, whatever this framework is. If you're getting 2 second rounders, I don't care what it is. I would personally be looking to take this this deal and moving forward without Vucevic, with whatever the players are. I do like Looney. It is kind of interesting because the Bulls apparently were trying to get Kevon Looney a couple off seasons ago with like their mid-level exception as a backup center. So maybe the Bulls just end up keeping Looney. I do like Looney overall as a player. He's not anything spectacular. He's probably a backup center. But if you're gonna be like starting Jalen Smith from here on out and then have Looney as your backup, that's fine. Like I think that's okay. However, though, I do think that with this sort of deal, the Bulls would not just be getting like, okay, like, oh, we only get 2 second round picks and like the other extras that come along with it. I do think that the Bulls were going to be actively like looking to trade GP2 then, or looking to actively trade Kevon Looney. Unfortunately, they cannot aggregate these contracts, so they would only be able to like trade these players like individually. So like you would only be able to send Looney out individually in a trade for whatever. Okay. But you know, I do think that some team will be looking to take maybe GP2. I think GP2 is someone that maybe, you know, they're willing to take a bet on him. And then, you know, with Looney, maybe just keep him, honestly. I wouldn't be upset with Kevon Looney just kind of staying. And just, you know, maybe the Bulls just kind of keep him around. Like, that's okay, at least in my head. And then if you're able to maybe re-sign Kevon Looney to, like, maybe even, like, a cheaper deal, then maybe you're able to trade Kevon Looney down the road, right? For maybe a few seconds as well. So, at the end of the day, then, like, if you're able to then move, you know, GP2, Kevon Looney, whoever, I don't care who it is, right? You're then able to, in essence, you're able to trade Nikola Vucevic for maybe 4 second round picks, right? If you're able to somehow get Moses Moody out of this, then awesome. Like, great, accept it immediately. I think Moses Moody will be a nice player to have. But yeah, I personally would just be looking to accept it. I don't know why the Bulls haven't. If this is on the table now, I don't know why the Bulls haven't accepted it, unless like they actively think they'll get a better offer from someone else. I mean, I'm just shocked at the fact that Vooch even has suitors at the moment. Like, I don't know why teams would really want him, but The fact that they do is good, so accept it now. If they really think this deal will still be there at the trade deadline, they're just like holding their cards and waiting to see if they can get a better offer. Okay, sure, but I'm just scared that the Warriors are going to make another move instead because the Bulls haven't accepted this offer. And so the Warriors are going to move on from this sort of deal, and then this deal will be off the table, right? And so then the Bulls can't come back to this and be like, yeah, we'll do this instead. That's kind of just my biggest concern. So I personally, with the trade deadline being a week away, I'm looking to do this sort of deal, and I'll be okay with it. Again, like getting 2 second-round picks for Vucevic and whatever salary fillers, I think that's an okay deal. Again, Vuce is not getting any younger. He's on a contract that maybe some people, don't exactly, or they're not exactly thrilled with it. Again, defensive liability. You're making $20 million per year, $20 million this year, and then more money the following season. So I personally, again, would not be looking. I'm not that thrilled about this if I'm a team trading for him. So yeah, I would just be like, let's just go ahead and do it. So that's just, again, it's just my opinion at the end of the day. The other player that the Bulls could be looking to trade is Torrey Craig. He might be involved in this deal. I also think that's fine. I do think Torrey Craig is out for a reason right now. Maybe he is actually injured though. But like maybe that is the case. But yeah, I'd be okay if you add Torrey Craig to this deal. Like that's okay as well. But if you're able to trade Torrey Craig for like an individual second, like if you're able to trade Torrey Craig to some team just individually, because he is on a minimum contract, so teams can like take him. Then try to trade him in a different deal instead, so you'll get an extra second rounder out of it. But maybe that might not be able to happen though. Like I understand that maybe Torrey Craig is not someone that can be like, yeah, well teams are willing to just sacrifice a second for right now because second rounders are important right now. So yeah, we'll see though. If you're wondering about the chances of this trade happening, at least in my head for the Bulls, I'm gonna go ahead and say that I think there's about a 40% chance this does, or I'm kind of even leaning towards like 35%. So I'll say 40% of this trade does happen for the Bulls. I'm not gonna say quite 50-50 because I don't think this Bulls front office is that smart. And I think that there are, other options for the Warriors instead to do a different deal, right? So I'm just gonna go ahead and say 40% chance. So not quite 50-50. So I'll say 40% for this trade, this trade possibly happening. It'll be interesting though, to watch and see if there are more suitors for Vooch. Because if there aren't, then I think the Bulls made a big mistake. Because like you're saying, AV Breeze, like they want more leverage for the Lakers' interest for a bidding war. Like if this is all for just trying to get leverage for a bidding war between the Lakers and the Warriors, I think the Bulls are making a mistake. I don't think the Lakers are going to be that interested in Vucevic. I think there are a lot of better options out there. Hence what the Phoenix Suns just did with Nick Richards, right? Like I think there's just better options. Like if you're gonna go and get a center to play for the Lakers, then you might as well go get a guy that's gonna be able to play defense for you. Vooch is not going to consistently give you 20 a night with the Lakers because he'll be like the third or fourth option there. He's the second option currently with the Bulls and averaging 20. So I just, it's just not, it really doesn't make much sense. Now with the Warriors though, again, like maybe Vooch is able to get to 20 with the Warriors because they don't have like a specified second option, but there are other guys that still play there. So maybe that will work out better for them. So again, I think that's the reason why maybe the Warriors are willing to give up a little bit more. I also think you'll be able to flip GP2, and then maybe you can re-sign Looney and trade him later. Again, I think it's worth it. Like you're basically right now you're being offered a deal for a guy that was basically untradeable last season. So now he's like, hey, he's having a solid season. Like this is a possible deal that we can do right now. Like, I don't think you can really be that picky about it. I would do it now. So personally, again, I would personally be looking to do this sort of deal now if I'm the Bulls. Okay. So again, 40% chance. I'm more willing even to say like 35% chance. But I hope it does happen because I think it's the correct decision for the Bulls to move on from Vooch and get anything possible in return for him. Because Just get him off just getting his contract off the books. That opens up more opportunities for the Bulls to take on bad contracts for draft capital. I think it's a good idea in the end. All right, now other options for the Bulls to trade here. I really don't know who else would be like another idea for the Bulls to trade right now, and like where they can possibly go. Because I have been, a person that's been like, yeah, I'm willing to trade Kobe White if it's a possibility. I just don't really know where. I've kind of thought about it a little bit. I'm just like, well, like there's a lot of teams, like for example, the Minnesota Timberwolves, like they're hard to trade with right now. Rockets don't need a Kobe White. So again, like Lakers again, like maybe the Lakers need a Kobe White, like sure. Pretty hard to make that deal work though, at least in my head. But the one team that for some reason, okay, that keeps getting popped up, that some people are bringing up recently, and it's intriguing to me, okay. But the one team that people have been kind of talking about recently has been the San Antonio Spurs, okay. Now, if you're wondering, like, why the hell would this? Why would this happen? Like, why would the Bulls or why would the Spurs be interested in trading for Kobe White? And like, what could the Bulls benefit from this? Like, yeah, you're trading Kobe, but like, why would the Bulls really benefit from this sort of deal? Okay, so what's been happening recently? So first off, I'm gonna say this. I have a Kobe to the Spurs. Yep. There it is, Avery Brace. Yep. So the reason why this is a thing, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say I was wrong about something. So I thought Wembanyama, when he came into the league, I genuinely thought that he was gonna be playing like the Giannis position. So like, Giannis plays like the 4 and he'll play the 5 sometimes, but I thought Wembanyama would be the same thing. Like I thought he'd be playing the 4 and then sometimes the 5. But he is very quickly just acclimated to the 5. Like he is just like, yeah, we're putting him at the 5. So with that being the case, right? Like you don't necessarily need a center right now if you're the Spurs, and they're currently paying a center $60 million to basically not really play, and that man is Zach Collins for the Spurs. Okay, so if you're wondering, like, would this trade work out like 1-to-1? Absolutely. But if you're the Bulls, you're not trading Kobe White straight up for Zach Collins. Okay. In this sort of sense, right, there is a world where you can be like, hey, if you're the Spurs, can we make some sort of deal here where like Zach Collins right now for you is not really much of a like he's just taking up kind of salary cap space for you. Is there a world where we can maybe kind of bargain here and be like, we'll take Zach Collins' contract, you'll get Kobe White, right? So like you're getting some good value in return here. So it's not just like, oh, it's like a 1-for-1 swap here. It's like, oh, we'll just do like a 1-for-1 here. Like you're not just like getting like a bad player. But you're getting Kobe White, and because you're getting Kobe White, like, can we maybe get a pick out of you? Your own pick probably is not gonna be that great. Your own pick is gonna probably be pretty good because your record's not gonna be that amazing. They'll probably end in play-in territory, and we'll see if they make it or not. But like, they'll probably want to keep the pick at the end of the day. So instead, though, maybe like you can argue or bargain with them, and be like, hey, can we get the Atlanta Hawks pick this year and make it like, I don't know, like top 10, or I don't know how the protections would exactly work on it, but maybe add some protections on it. Like maybe we could get the Atlanta Hawks pick this year, because you're basically then banking like, oh, maybe the Hawks make the playoffs this year, which they're in play-in territory as well, but there's a good possibility to make the playoffs. And so you're kind of like, hey, maybe we'll take that bet. If that's not good enough, then like we'll just take the Charlotte pick for this year, and like, Charlotte's not gonna like, or sorry, that's not smart. I forgot that Charlotte's 15 through 30. My bad. Yeah, so I guess it'd just be an Atlanta pick, or like you'll have to try to bargain with them hardly with the Spurs pick. But at the end of the day, you're probably looking at getting your own pick back. Okay, so there's that for the Bulls. Okay, so that's kind of like a big piece of it, where it's like, hey, we'll take Zach Collins, you'll get Kobe, we'll get our pick back, and then in future years, okay, so let's just say, for example, then we'll say in 2027, then we'll be like, hey, can we get your pick in 2027? We'll say it's like top 5 protector or something like that. Okay, so this is something that has been brought up. If you're wondering, like, well, why the hell would the Spurs do this? Okay. Well, the reason why the Spurs would do this is because they're getting Zach Collins' contract off the roster. So, like, let's just say, for example, like, forget everybody involved, but if they're able to get Zach Collins' contract off the roster and just give the Bulls pick back, right? Like, that might be worth it for them, right? Because in essence, right now, like, there's, like, currently right now as we stand, there's a 97% chance the Bulls are keeping the pick this year, okay? So if you're the Spurs, you're probably thinking like, well, we're not going to get the pick this year, so we might as well just send it back to the Bulls, give the Bulls back the full rights to that pick, and in exchange, like you'll take on Zach Collins' 2-year contract, okay? But then add on top of that, we're then also getting Kobe White, okay? And so because we're getting Kobe White in this deal, then just to kind of add on top of like, hey, you're taking on Zach Collins' contract and we're getting Kobe White, who's also cheaper and probably going to fit in a little bit better with us. We'll add in a first-round pick that's one of ours. That's probably not going to be like the greatest first-round pick or anything. Like, I expect the Spurs to be good in 2027, but you know, we'll add some protections to it, and the Bulls maybe can get that pick in 2027, right? There probably is going to maybe need to like Bulls might need to add a little bit more to this, right? So if you haven't traded Torrey Craig yet, maybe you're just trade Torrey Craig in this deal as well. You know, I don't know how exactly it will work out. Maybe they like Dale and Terry, so like if you're able to do this with trading Dale and Terry away, I'm all for it too. I understand that it's kind of mind-boggling because like even when I also kind of first saw this, I'm like, I don't know how this really makes much sense, but like sure. But yeah, like it kind of does make sense at the end of the day. So maybe this is kind of what you're looking at in terms of like maybe this is a Kobe White deal for the Spurs. And you're able to get your pick back. You'll take on Zach Collins' contract, so like you're taking on bad contracts for draft capital here. And you know, maybe you sacrifice Dale and Terry too. Ideally, you don't. If anything, though, the Spurs are probably just looking for expiring contracts, so you might be able just to trade them Chris Duarte. That might actually work out for you at the end of the day. So who knows? So maybe this is an idea. Now the other idea, though, if you're wondering about like, can we make this bigger? Okay, like, and I'm talking about between the Spurs and the Bulls. Okay, is there a world where you can make this deal bigger, where the Spurs can actively shed more salary, right? So that, because if you're wondering like why the Spurs will be interested, it's because they're trying to shed salary. Okay, they have a bunch of picks coming up here, but not to mention then obviously they have to pay Wembanyama. But before they're gonna pay Wembanyama, they're gonna want to spend a lot of money so that they can like fill out the rest of their roster before they offer Wembanyama that big contract, right? So they're actively using their cap space correctly in this sort of sense. So you know, getting rid of Zach Collins is like a pretty big deal for them. But the other person that they might be willing to get rid of is actually Keldon Johnson. As weird as it sounds, Keldon Johnson has been kind of like a bench player for them this year, if I'm not mistaken. I have to double check that, but like he's mostly come off the bench. You know, I've always been a Keldon Johnson fan, but I have kind of noticed recently like he is kind of limited in his game. He is probably overall a bench player moving forward, right? So, in this sort of sense, the Bulls would then be able to not just take Zach Collins' contract, but they'd be also taking Keldon Johnson's contract. Okay. Now this is going to require a lot more for the Bulls. Okay. I don't necessarily know who would be going out in this sort of deal. If they're willing to take Javon Carter, awesome. Like that'd be ideal, but it's, you know, probably not going to happen in that sort of sense. But this is in a sense where I would not be shocked if it's like, this is the Lonzo Ball deal that people might be looking for. For the Spurs, it makes a lot of sense because one, you're helping your team for this year, but you're also then getting an expiring contract. Like you're still shedding salary in this sort of sense. In this sort of case, then like this pick would probably be unprotected from the Spurs. And then you'll probably also maybe add on like a few seconds in this sort of sense. So I guess we can maybe get our pick back or something like that. But I ideally I just would like New Orleans pick this year. And then we'll take like the Philly pick of 2026 then. So like, is this a possibility? I think it's a possibility. The chances of this happening, though, I think are slimmer than the Vucevic to the Warriors. But this has been something that's been kind of going around, though, on Bulls Twitter, and kind of something that I've just been kind of thinking about, because I do think that if the Bulls are smart, which I don't trust them to be smart, but if the Bulls are smart and, like, you recognize that the San Antonio Spurs are going to be looking to, like, try to shed salary so that they're active players in free agency in, like, the next couple of seasons before they have to give Wembanyama that massive contract, right? Then you're basically saying, like, hey, we'll take on some contracts here, and we'll take on some bad contracts like Zach Collins, and we'll want our pick back. We'll want another future first round pick or something and other draft capital for it. And you'll get Kobe White, you'll get Lonzo Ball, and so you're getting expiring contracts and then Kobe White's contract, which is cheaper, right? The teams would get what they want. It's just, are there better options for the San Antonio Spurs to do something like this sort of trade, but not trade with the Bulls, right? There probably is, right? So that's just the reason why, like, I don't really think this sort of deal is possible. Like, the chance of this happening is probably like 10%, really. But if I'm the Bulls, though, I'm trying to push for this, because you're basically going to try to convince the Spurs, like, well, you don't really have many other options here. Like, we're looking for draft capital. We just want our pick back, right? So it's like, it's not that big of a deal for the Spurs, because it's like, oh, you're just sending their pick back. You're not actively giving up a first round pick in that sort of sense. And we have some expirings to offer that maybe some other teams don't. We're willing to take on Zach Collins' contract when other teams may not be willing to do so. Maybe, right? So yeah, I personally just, I would hope that the front office is actively looking at this sort of stuff. Is it gonna happen? Again, a lot of things are discussed and never happen. But I would really look into this sort of thing personally, because I understand a lot of people don't want to trade Kobe White. They want him to stick around. But if I'm able to, like, get a first round pick for Kobe, I think it's worth it at the end of the day. Love Duncan Trade Machine. What's going on, Tara? Appreciate it. Yeah, so what's going on, Rob? Thank you for checking in. Yeah, so right now, currently, is where the Bulls stand. So if, let's say the lottery, let's say there was no lottery and the teams got their pick based off of record and no one, there's no, lottery thing or anything, then the Bulls right now at 9th, right, they would end 9th, right? Now, with the lottery, though, there's a 97% chance the Bulls keep their pick. That's including jumping up into the top 4 and then staying pat at 97, at 9, which is your highest chance, and then also falling back to 10, which is the second highest chance. Falling back to 11th and then also 12th, there is basically a negative, it's a less than 0.1% chance of falling back to 12th currently. And then there's a 3% chance of falling back to 11th, which is basically where the 97% comes from. So, ideally, again, you get into then if you want to be 8th worst, because at that point there is basically a 99% chance the Bulls keep their pick. There's it's less than 1% chance where the Bulls would lose their pick in that sort of sense, where they would fall back to 11. But you're still sitting pretty okay right now. So again, 97% chance is nice. It's not 99% chance, right? It's obviously not 100, but it is nice. Also, just moving up to the 8th, being the 8th worst team, though, it also just gives you a better chance of jumping into the top 4, which is also what I'm kind of looking into, right? So I would ideally like to jump into I would ideally like to fall below the 76ers in the standings, just because you would have a better chance of jumping into the top 4, and obviously a better chance of getting the first overall pick. But also then you have a higher chance of keeping the pick. So yeah, hopefully we'll keep it. I think a fireability move next year may be the move to improve odds of keeping the 2026 pick. So yeah, that's the reason why a trade with the Spurs, I would be interested in it, really, because again, if you do keep the pick this year, right, then next year the pick is top 8 protected. So unless you're one of the worst teams in the league, there's a high chance then that pick next year goes to the Spurs, right? And you probably want to keep the pick, right? So if you're able to convince the Spurs to give you back their pick, or your own pick, like that's a good thing, because then you don't have to worry about, playing the lottery odds and developing guys too quickly or something like that, or getting accidental wins in 2026 then. Because like, while it'd be nice to keep the pick this year, then you have to keep in mind that in 2026 you have to then be the, top 8 in the lottery to then keep it again, which is just like yikes. So we'll see. Again, we'll see what does happen here in terms of the Bulls and the Spurs. I don't think a trade's going to happen because the Spurs are smart, but we'll see what does potentially happen. Top 3 in 2026 is maybe as good, if not better, than this year. Still far out, but it's possible. I'm aware. Yeah. So again, if you can find a way to convince the Spurs just to give you back their pick, awesome. Like, please do that. That'd be a godsend, because you don't want to risk things right now if you're actually gonna hit the rebuild button. Which again, I don't know if they're actually gonna do that or not. I have pointed out in streams though that like I do think that there is a possibility that the Bulls are trying to be competitive this year, and like they're okay giving up the pick this year so that they can try to be, so that like if you give up the pick this year, then it basically opens up the rest of their picks to be traded and swapped. So just to give you like a visual example, so the reason why the Bulls would be willing to give up their pick this year is because if you give up your pick this year to the Spurs, then basically every single pick from here on out, from 2026 on, you own your pick. So that if you want to go and make like a major splash, like if you want to like try to actively trade for like a major superstar or something, then you have all your picks open to trade then, and also to swap. I am concerned that like that is something the Bulls are like, for whatever reason, thinking about. Like, yeah, we're gonna go and do that, which is stupid as hell. Like, why would you do that? Like, I don't understand that thought process at all. But I do think that it is a possibility that they are thinking that way. I would highly advise against it, but there is that chance. But I really hope that's not what they're thinking, because then you're obviously then not playing for a high pick in the 2026 draft, which we've been talking about. It's supposed to be pretty decent, right? So again, we'll see what does happen with this sort of stuff, but I would highly advise against the Bulls not trying to keep their pick this year. I would really like to keep the pick this year, and then be bad next year to keep the pick, or you make a trade with the Spurs, which I know is tough. That being said, though, I don't know about any other trades, honestly. Again, Torrey Craig could honestly go anywhere. Like, I'm being dead serious. Like, Torrey Craig could go anywhere. But in terms of for the Bulls specifically, like, I don't really know who else could be on the move. If I'm going to be a betting man, I think Zach stays with what's being said. I know the Bulls are shopping Patrick Williams suddenly. With the way that Patrick Williams has played, I don't know why any team would want him right now. I understand he had a nice game tonight, but like, that's off the bench. So it's like, I don't think any team's going to be looking like, yeah, we're going to be trading for a guy that's making $90 million to come off our bench moving forward. And I understand Ayo Dosunmu is a guy that maybe some teams are looking at as well. I just think the Bulls are going to probably keep him, though. And that's what I would personally do. I would personally keep Ayo as well. I think you're seeing what Ayo could do in the starting lineup, like in a game like tonight. Like, I do think that Ayo in the starting lineup could be like a 16-point per game scorer on high efficiency and a good defender. He'll probably not be your starting point guard, but he can be like your starting 2 guard. And that's a very valuable thing to have. So I personally would think just to keep Ayo, again, unless like you get like a good offer, then yeah, you send Ayo out the door. But I think keeping Ayo, the risk versus reward, is probably a good idea. So at the end of the day, I don't think teams gonna be looking for Ball. I know the Bulls have been looking to trade Lonzo because they understand it's the last year of his deal, but I don't see really any teams looking to trade for a guy that's making $20 million to come off the bench. So I think that your biggest, the highest chance of someone getting moved is probably Torrey Craig. After that, though, I do think that Vooch is probably the highest chance after that, which I still, have my doubts about that. And then it's probably Kobe White after. Jalen Smith has also started to pop up in some trade rumors. We'll see about that, maybe. He is on a pretty cheap deal as well, so we'll keep an eye on that. I won't lie, the Dallas Mavericks with for Jalen Smith, it kind of makes some sort of sense. The Dallas Mavericks, you know, they're without Derek Lively for a bit here, and I think Maxi Kleber also just got injured, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, let me double check that. Yeah, I am right foot fracture. So, they're pretty much they just have Daniel Gafford basically. So if you're the Mavericks, I don't know. I don't quite know how this would work. Like money wise, it's pretty rough. I mean, so if you're wondering, like Najee Marshall has been like really good for them this year. Like that's not gonna they're not gonna trade him. Have we talked about Zach Gonzalez to the Rockets? I think that team should be looking to upgrade to be real in the postseason. I just would really hesitate that for the Rockets. Do I think it's an upgrade? Yes. Do I think they should be doing that sort of move though? I just don't. I really question that deal if you're the Rockets. Sorry, hold on. I'm just quickly trying to see if I can figure out this sort of deal for the Mavericks, and I don't know if I can. I'm gonna go to your deal, Viper Strike, in just a second here. Okay, so like untouchable, obviously second, like close to untouchable. You're not trading Klay Thompson. PJ Washington's been good. You need Gafford now because he's like your only center. Kleber's injured, so like, I mean, I don't know why the Bulls would trade for Kleber at this point. You're keeping Marshall because he's been good. Lively's kind of he's not in untouchable range, but he's very valuable. Putting Grimes has been good for them off the bench. So like you're trading Dwight Powell in this sort of sense. And I'm like, okay, like I'll also take Dante Exum, I guess then. Like this doesn't even work either because they're this will put them over the first apron and their hard caps. So like pretty rough. So like I mean, I would love Jaden Hardy, but you're not going to get Jaden Hardy here. Out of the wave 2 guys. So, sure. Yet again, we are sending... You know, I'll send Taylor Horn Tucker instead this time. Let's just see if this would work. It doesn't. Great. Awesome. Ah, lovely. Okay. Not sure how this would work out for a Jalen Smith trade. The only way I can actually see it working out is if you do a Maxi Kleber swap instead. So like the Bulls will get Maxi Kleber. And then if you're the Mavericks, you'd have to send out like your second round pick this year from Detroit. And that's it, honestly. Like you'd have to probably send out both. Like it would probably be like this. Probably not worth it if you're the Bulls, honestly. Like if you're the Bulls, like why would you do this? But I guess this is like a potential idea that's popping up recently. Real like 6-man, I don't want to give him up. I also would not want to give him up either. Also, like if it's only for like 2 seconds, I don't know if it's really worth it, especially for an injured player. Probably not worth it at the end of the day. Most terrified to think of the 5-guard lineups we'd be left with. Well, if you're gonna look to be bad, then it's a pretty good idea. But yeah, I also would be scared of it as well. I would have doubts about that moving forward. Okay, so I'm gonna go to Viper Strike's idea about the Rockets, okay? Because that is interesting. Do I think it's an upgrade? Yeah, because I know Jalen Green's been a lot better recently, but the Rockets on offense this year have had their struggles with just 3-point shooting in general. Their defense obviously has been really good this year, so hence why they're having a really solid year defensively. But if you're wondering about for the Houston Rockets and like how everything's kind of working out for them, they're 21st in terms of 3-point attempts per game. But the biggest thing is that they're only shooting 34% from 3-point range. That's bottom 5 territory for them, basically. Their defense is pretty much like hard carrying them. And their offense, like I'm not saying their offense is bad. Like if you're gonna go to like the offensive rating, for example, like it's not like terrible for them. Their offense is up here. But if you like want to like really solidify like being like a really good offensive team, then like getting a Zach LaVine would really help. And the reason why I think it would work is just because Jalen Green is not like necessarily like the greatest defensive player either in the world. But you would basically, in a sense, be replacing Jalen Green with what Zach does. And if you look at Jalen Green, who's like people, try to do comparison between Jalen Green and Zach all the time. But if you wanted to talk about efficiency, okay, like Zach LaVine averages 24 points per game on less shots per game than Jalen Green, and he shoots over 50% from the field. He attempts 7-ish threes per game, so Jalen Green averages more, but LaVine is shooting 44% on 3-point attempts per this year. So you're just increasing your overall efficiency drastically. Again, similar turnovers, similar rebounds. You actually get more assists with Zach. And again, defensively, I just don't think it's like that big of a deal. The Houston Rockets have been really solid defensively anyway, so like they'll be able to cover up for him with Zach's liabilities. Again, like Jalen Green's not like a great defender or anything, so there's that. And then adding Lonzo just to kind of solidify stuff here. If I'm personally the Houston Rockets, I'm first and foremost, I'm just shocked that they're even here. Like I'm shocked at the fact that they're like even at this point, because I did not expect them to have this good of a season. The person that I've been hearing about for the Bulls, it would be like Jabari Smith, maybe. Like for example, Amen Thompson's like, you're not getting Amen Thompson. You're probably not going to get Reed Shepard out of this sort of deal. So like I guess it would. I'm assuming Viper Strike that you would have Jalen Green in this deal, right? God, the money is rough though, bro. Like the money is like it's rough. This is a pretty rough overall idea. Amen Thompson's been fantastic recently. Yeah, bro. The Thompson twins have been phenomenal recently. Amen Thompson, especially though, I think he had a 7-block game recently. Yeah, like they're showing you what you can do. Like they're showing you how you can be effective without a 3-point shot. Like that's what I was hoping Pat could eventually do, but clearly Pat doesn't have the athleticism they have. Yeah, Amen Thompson though has been phenomenal. So yeah, I highly doubt that you're gonna be able to get that. Yeah, the only person who makes too much money is the Rockets is Fred VanVleet. I just thought that like you would probably not want to trade Fred VanVleet in this deal, right? Because like if you're wondering like right now, like this doesn't work. Like the Rockets are getting way too much money in this. But I mean, I did just see what AV Breach just says. Like Jock Landale. I mean, this would work. If you're wondering, I don't think the Bulls would get much draft capital out of this because you're getting Jalen Green and Jabari Smith. Unless you're getting Steven Adams, but like, I think Steven Adams is actually pretty important to them right now. So yeah, I wonder, I don't know what it would be. Like, I think it would be something like this, and like, if you're the Bulls, like you would hope like you can develop Jabari Smith, which I won't lie, bro, I'm not the biggest Jabari Smith fan at the moment. Like I see some of the tools that he has, but I don't really think he's going to turn into anything special. I'd be very interested in Jalen Green though. Like I think that you can work with Jalen Green to become, more efficient on offense, and obviously just kind of replace what Zach does. And hopefully he'll be a better defender overall. So yeah, like maybe like this would work. Like the money works in this sort of deal just because of how the Rockets don't have as much salary on the books right now. Again, maybe I'm wrong, but like I think that they would want to keep Fred VanVleet. Like I think they do value him. I am aware though, like his shooting percentages, like he's a small guard, so like I understand like he's not going to shoot the best, but like he's shooting 39% from the field. But he's your starting point guard, doesn't turn it over too often. He's raised his 3-point percentage back up. Like this was at like I want to say this was at like 31% at some point this season. Like he was having a pretty dreadful year initially from 3-point range, but he's increased it. But maybe I'm wrong. Like I just, my only thing is though is that if you do trade Fred VanVleet, like let's say the Bulls like take on Fred VanVleet and like you trade Zach and for Fred VanVleet, who's the point guard for them? Like who would be the point guard for the Houston Rockets at that point? Like there really isn't anybody besides Reed Shepard, and I don't think they want to put him in that role yet. So yeah, I guess it would be something like this. This is already kind of a lot, though. Like, I think the Bulls honestly come out at the top end of this deal. But if you're the Rockets and you think that this is like the push for being a contender, then obviously you do it. It's just that you're sacrificing your defense a lot in this because you're sacrificing Dylan Brooks. You're obviously Jalen Green. He's been better recently. He's had a pretty damn good month in January. Jabari Smith, you know, I do think that they're not as high on him either right now. He's been kind of meh overall, but I mean, he does kind of bring defense as well. And Jock Landale is Jock Landale. So, yeah, I don't know. I highly doubt this happens. I don't really think it's a possibility, but it's a nice idea, honestly, Viper Strike. It's honestly like a really creative idea because, yeah, I mean, this is one of those teams that I do think could definitely benefit from having Zach. I think obviously the Orlando Magic are another team that could really benefit from having Zach, and like they have the contracts to make it work. But I kind of just put him in the similar spot of like the Rockets. Like, I don't really think you need to go make a move right now if you're the Magic, especially because they've been missing. You know, Franz is going to come. He either just came back or is going to come back soon here. And Banchero obviously missed a lot of time. So it's like if you're the Magic, like you don't really want to make a move when you don't really know what you really have yet. Like what you don't really know what your weaknesses are just yet. So like, why would you make the move if you're the Magic? But this would be like your kind of just like the contracts, right? Obviously, if you're the Bulls, you want to pick out of it. So like, we'll take Denver's. But like, if you're the Magic, like, is this a necessary move at the moment when you don't exactly know what your weaknesses are just yet? Like, I think they obviously know like their weaknesses are shooting, and Zach obviously helps them there. But do you need more playmaking? Do you need more guys to get to the basket first and foremost? Do you need more big men, right? Before you go and make like a major splash move, like you need to like kind of work things around the edges first before you make that major move. And I would, that's kind of where I also put the Houston Rockets, where I'm just like, I kind of want to see them with this team kind of go on like on a playoff run and like just kind of see where they're at. And then if they think like, okay, well, you know, Şengün's like our guy, and Jalen Green's had like a nice kind of overall season, so maybe they keep him, and then they decide to move Jabari Smith for kind of like that next big piece for them to kind of take the next step. Like, you know, it's just a little bit more calculated at the end of the day. That's kind of what I would think they would be doing, but I don't know. Maybe the Rockets are going to be aggressive as hell, and yeah, I'll be interested to see what they do. I will say this though, okay? They're gonna have to make a decision soon with Fred VanVleet, because I do think that Reed Shepherd was kind of like his, you know, successor being drafted. Similar, you know, body style and everything. Similar play style. Fred VanVleet is a small guard. I just always say I don't know how long he's gonna last. He's had one hell of a career for being a very small guy. It's just that is this you know he's already 30. He's gonna soon be 31. Like, is this the time where he does take that dive where we've seen many small guards take a dive in their career when they hit their 30s? So that's just the only thing that I'm just kind of like pointing out. Like, maybe they are willing to trade Fred VanVleet maybe in the offseason, right? And move on from him and like get a different point guard or something and get rid of his contract. But oh wait, he actually has, I think he's a player option actually, so I don't know if that's possible. But yeah, like it is a thought. I will be interested to see what exactly their thought process is moving forward. I'm just gonna go to their page here. Yeah, it is a player option. Or no, it's a club option. Oh, it's a club option. Wow, that's one hell of a contract then for the Houston Rockets. Then. They did a good job with this. Huh. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what they do then. Like, do they decline the club option and try to sign for like a longer term deal, but for cheaper per year? Like, you know, sign for like a 2-year +1, and each year's 30 million instead of obviously 44 million. Yeah, I'll be really interested to see what they do. Yeah, the Rockets, like, I mean, I'm just looking at like they're set up pretty well because, you know, I won't lie, like they did honestly what I was not expecting them to do, because when they traded Harden, I thought it was gonna be like a full out rebuild. Like, we're not gonna see the Rockets relevant for like the next 7 years, but they, you know, they had some obviously terrible seasons, right? They got Jalen Green, they drafted Jabari Smith, but they did a pretty good job of just drafting other guys that weren't really that high draft picks, right? Like, they got like Tari Eason, they got Cam Whitmore, like they did a really good job of that. But then they also went out and they are not, you know, Şengün also is the guy. But they also went out and signed vets, and like all of a sudden now they're second in the Western Conference. Like that was not what I was expecting at all from Houston. So props to them. But they've really put themselves in a very good spot, because if, you know, like Şengün's obviously like the key player moving forward here, but you know, whoever they decide to keep and whoever they decide to move on from, like, it'll be interesting to watch. But they have the assets to go and make that major splash, or they have the money to go out and get that get them like that free agent that they need, right? Sorry, I just want to see really quickly here. Cap. Sorry, I just want to see the cap holds. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna come down to like if they want to give Fred VanVleet this club option or not. But like if they like kind of, you know, they can just basically rescind all these qualifying offers, and then this isn't correct. Like he signed a new deal already. Wait, what? Okay, this is not correct. Spotrack's actually wrong for once, because this isn't correct. Jalen Green already signed his extension, so this is incorrect. I know this is correct. This is all this stuff is correct. Okay, well, at the end of the day, it's about if they want to decline Fred VanVleet's option and give themselves some cap space, right? Or if they just want to trade other people and try to use their money that way. But then in 2026, though, like, I think this year is gonna be interesting, because yeah, this is the year they're gonna have a lot of cap space. They'll have to make some decisions for some guys, right? Like Jabari Smith, for example, and Tari Eason. But if they want to go make that major splash, like, this is the year for them. Assuming that they didn't re-sign Fred VanVleet to like a major contract. Yeah, they have a lot of options, so they're in a good spot. So hopefully they just don't mess it up. Oh, but I'm sorry. That the short stream is from last stream. I forgot to get rid of that. Last stream was 30 minutes long. That's from last stream. I am so sorry about that. This is not. Today was supposed to be a long stream because last stream was a short stream. Thank you for pointing that out. Sorry, thank you for that, Camille. Yeah, that should not have been in the title. That was from last stream. I forgot to get rid of that. Just noticed every bullet played tonight made a 3 except for THD, who barely played. Patent lifetime extension. Yeah, honestly, give Peter Patton the lifetime extension. I won't lie though, I'm not like Peter Patton has done a pretty good job with, like, you know, Kobe White, with Ayo Dosunmu. Like, you know, Ayo's kind of 50-50, but like, you know, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But like, Giddey is not amazing. I don't know how much of effect he's had on Zach LaVine, because I think Zach just goes with his own personal trainers. But if he had a major effect on Vucevic, then major props to him, because like he clearly made Vucevic a much better jump shooter this year. Yeah, and then you know, we'll see with Julian Phillips moving forward, because like that's gonna be like a whole thing. But like if like, I do think Julian Phillips has definitely gotten better, just he hasn't gotten better enough to the point where we can give him consistent minutes. But to give Peter Patton some good looks here, like Julian Phillips from the corner is still a pretty good shooter from the corner, and that's not something that was guaranteed when he was drafted. So for Julian Phillips, like, for Pete Patton, for Julian Phillips, like if he was a major part of this, then that's a major win, right? that's obviously a really big thing if Julian Phillips is a consistent corner 3-point shooter, which actually his left corner 3-point shot's gone down, but I mean, he's a 45% 3-point shooter from the right corner, so that's obviously really good. He still has to obviously work on his threes. Like, he's still shooting 32% overall, but you know, we'll take it. I just want to quickly see if I can track this. Nope, that's not what I was looking for. Maybe scoring. Nope, I'm stupid. I was undershooting the entire time. Okay, no, I'm just dumb. What? What's the... Okay, sorry, I'm losing my mind. I feel like there's definitely something that I'm missing here, where it's like here is stats on corner shots, tracking defense. What's scoring? No, it's not scoring. All right, I'm just dumb. I know that there's some. I'm just blanking on it right now. Bree's been pretty disappointing though he showed promise in the G League. So I do think that Reed Shepherd's a guy. It's gonna take a little bit for him to kind of get to like NBA level, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I think he'll be okay. He has obviously played really well in the G League, but I think because he's a small guard, it's going to take a little bit for him. And not to mention, again, like he's playing behind, you know, he's on a winning team. He's a rookie. Like he's just not going to play, right? That's fine. I think he'll be okay. I don't know necessarily if he's going to turn into like third overall pick type level stuff, but I do think that he'll be all right. And he'll have like a pretty solid career. Sorry, I'm upset right now because I'm like, I don't know where I saw this whole stat, but like I know that it's on here somewhere. I'm just losing my mind right now, where it's like it shows like, hey, here's your corner 3-point percentage, and I thought it was like here, but I guess it's not here. Oh, okay. Yeah, all right, well, we'll just go off this. Like, above the break, like, Julian Phillips is shooting 14% from 3-point range above the break. So, like, very clear the corner threes are very solid. Or the right corner three is pretty solid. Left corner three is not as great. But it's obviously better than 14%. Bad statue? I mean, maybe. Giddey's 3-point percentage still up on the season, even though he was slumping for a couple of weeks. Minus 34% of the G League, from like 20% of G League last season. That is actually good from Buzelis, because Buzelis recently was like in like 31%, like just the other day. Honestly, just, you know, making 1-3 honestly for Buzelis might just be like a huge thing for his percentage with how little threes he's, or how little time he gets on the floor right now. Okay, hold on. So with Giddey, I actually, okay, so Giddey is actually up. Wait, is he actually up? Hold on. I just looked at this the other day because I was talking to someone about Josh Giddey, about like, because someone on Twitter was like, I think Giddey has been like, he's not like, the storyline isn't necessarily about him because there's other things going on, but like he was saying like, oh well, Giddey's like improved this year, and I'm like, has he really improved though? Like, I don't think Giddey's really improved this year. Like, I genuinely do not think he's done anything better than what we've already known from Josh Giddey. Like, the one thing I do think that he has been better at this year has been his defensive effort. Like, since obviously calling him out early on in the season, like, I think his defensive effort has been better. But like, if you're looking at these numbers, okay, and this is not updated after today, but like his field goal percentage is the second worst of his career, so he's dropped significantly just a field goal percentage. His 3-point percentage coming into tonight was worse than last season and was similar to his sophomore season. Okay, he's only shooting 0.6 more threes than last season, which is less than he shot his rookie year. He's averaging less rebounds than his rookie season. He's averaging his a career high in assists, I guess. So there's that, but career high in steals is the biggest thing. Turnovers though is at 2.8, which is still pretty high for him. But in terms of points per game, he is averaging a career low points per game. So I don't think Giddey has really done anything better this year in terms of what we already knew of him as a player. I don't think he's improved. In terms of his 3-point percentage, though, this is updated. This is including tonight's game. His 3-point percentage isn't necessarily better than last season. Okay, like he's still shooting worse than last season. He's still basically shooting what he did his sophomore season, like 32.5% versus 33%. That's not that much of a difference. So I'm not gonna really say he really improved, honestly. Like, you know, his rookie season to his sophomore season, that's a major improvement. Like that's an improvement. But since then, I think he's just kind of plateaued, which is frustrating at the end of the day. So yeah, I really don't think Giddey's 3-point percentage has really gone up for the entire season. Now, he obviously had the slump, right? So like it's gone up since the slump, but you know, he started out pretty all right from 3-point range, and then it kind of dipped pretty quickly after that. Like when I was telling people, because like people were like, "Oh, see, Duncan, like you don't know Josh Giddey. He's gotten better." I'm like, when I said at the start of the season when he made those like 5 threes against Orlando Magic, I'm like, listen, it's a nice start to the season for him in terms of 3-point percentage, but I was saying, like, what is par for him? I don't know what's going to be par. If he's able to then, you know, go back down to earth and it's like 36%, then awesome. Like, he made a significant jump. But if going back down to par for him is, you know, down to the 32, 33%, then I don't think he really did anything. Like, he didn't improve yet. So, it's, at least in my opinion, he has not improved in that area, unfortunately. I want him, though, to improve in that area drastically. Like, I really want him to improve in his 3-point shot. Like, not only do I want him to improve, but I want him to be able to shoot like 6 threes a game and shoot him confidently. But unfortunately, he just doesn't look to take him that often because he doesn't trust his shot, which for obvious reasons. So I do think Peter Pan, if Giddey is still here next season, like he has a lot of work on his shoulders to try to figure out what to do with Josh Giddey and his shot because it's still pretty slow. And I think honestly for Giddey, the one thing that is pretty a little bit just concerning about him moving forward is just that like his off the dribble 3-point shooting is still not good. In terms of 3-point shots made this season, he has only made 6 threes this year that are unassisted. So that's basically like him like shooting off the dribble, right? Most of his threes made this season are assisted, which means like 1 or 2 dribbles or catch and shoot, right? But like if you just kind of like look at this, like his pull-up jump shot percentage this year is still dreadful, which is like obviously from 3-point range is still not good, right? 5 of 15 is not good. So like that's obviously just concerning. So like I don't really know how he's gonna be able to suddenly become better at shooting threes off the dribble when his shot is so slow. But hopefully Peter Pan can find a way to kind of fix it, because I won't lie, Lonzo, again, I've been talking about Lonzo being like a guy that, you know, his main thing is catch and shoot, right? From 3-point range, which that is true. But I won't lie, since Lonzo's gotten back, he's been better at taking step back 3-point shots than compared to what he was doing before he got injured. So maybe that is also just Peter Pan. Like, I don't know. That'd be great. Because like that would be a very nice step in the right direction for Lonzo. But like even with Lonzo, for example, like most of his threes are still assisted, right? Like I've always talked about this, like most of his threes are assisted threes. Let's see though, pull up jump shots, like he's shooting 6 of 16 on pull up jump shots, and then step back, he's shooting 4 for 6 from 3-point range. Like that's improvement, right? That's obviously that's actually really good for Lonzo standards. So yeah, I'm hoping Peter Pan can kind of figure out a way to like do something similar to Josh Giddey. If he's done the same thing to Lonzo, which I don't know. Lonzo's just been a better shooter than Giddey in most of his career. My retirement plan is to bet on Matas 1 plus 3-pointer made, 1 plus dunk, and 1 plus block for the rest of his career. You're talking about per game, right? Yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah, that'll be a very good thing to kind of track for Buzelis, because I think that's a really nice bet. if Buzelis is able to do that, then yeah, I'll be very happy. I mean, the funny thing is that he's already kind of at the blocks, right? Like I know like he's not getting played that many minutes, and I don't think he had a block tonight, but funnily enough, I mean he's pretty much already at the blocks. He's already averaging 0.8 blocks per game on 13 minutes a night. So like you're already kind of there with the blocks. He's already second on the team in terms of dunks per game, and he'd obviously get a lot more if he played more. It's just honestly down to the 3-point shot, right? And hopefully he'll be able to do that. Yeah, that's a really nice bet. I was comparing it to his career 3-point percentage, but I didn't realize how low it was his first year. Oh, I see what you're saying for Giddy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, his 3-point percentage in comparison is like it's at 31%, so like 33% is like a jump. But yeah, his 3-point percentage in his rookie season was so dreadful. It's just basically bringing down the rest of his 3-point percentage. So yeah, unfortunately, it's not that much of an improvement from Josh Giddey at the end of the day. Again, though, if Giddey can become a 36% 3-point shooter, it's just going to help him so much. Like, again, not even off the dribble. I don't need that. Like, just him being just a good, like, 36% is league average, right? So, 36% catch and shoot 3-point shooter, yeah, that'll help him wonders for just staying on the floor consistently. And ideally open up the rest of his game as well. All right. Pretty crazy win tonight. Was not expecting that for the Bulls. They've been absolutely dreadful at home, but the young guys absolutely came out and just put up an absolute nice, just an impactful game from everybody in terms of the young players. So props to them. Also, I just want to just really quickly say, I don't know what it is with Stacey King and Zach LaVine and his issue with Zach LaVine taking threes at the end of the game. I thought Zach LaVine took all the right shots at the end of the game. Like, I know that people were upset like that one step back that he missed, but once again, this man is shooting 44% from 3-point range on the season, and he might have even raised it to 45% again tonight. He is one of the best 3-point shooters in the league. So again, 44.6% from 3-point range. He is one of the best shooters in terms of off the dribble shots from 3-point range. He is shooting 51% from the field. The Bulls offense needed him to score down the stretch. They just needed him to shoot good. And make some shots. And he had a catch and shoot 3 that he made. But he had 2 step back threes he had a step back 3 and then that little kind of ISO fake, slip screen from Lonzo pull up, or not, I guess, I don't know what you would call it, but triple threat 3. Like, Stacey King is just saying like, no, like he's like a no, yes, or whatever. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but like if this was any other team, like if one of your best scorers is shooting 44% from 3-point range and is able to get good looks pretty much every time down the floor off of it, like that's a good shot down the stretch. I'm sorry. So I don't know what it is with Stacey King, and like, he's like, I don't need Zach LaVine shooting these threes, like, bad shot, tough shot. I'm like, this is legitimately one of the best shooters off the dribble this season. Okay, like if he gets a step back 3-point shot, it's a good shot right now. He is shooting 44% on 3-point shots this season. He's making 3.2 per game. It's a good shot. He made 5 tonight, and he only took 13 shots tonight. So please, for the love of God, like, Stacey King is Stacey King. He'll always just be upset at certain things, but I think Zach took every good shot down the stretch tonight. I was personally fine with every single shot. I know people will disagree with me on that, but again, you're talking about one of the best shooters in the league currently. So I don't know, just my 2 cents. Bulls gonna be going to Boston though on Wednesday to take on the Celtics in TD Garden. It looks like the Bulls gonna be without Zach LaVine for that game, as he's expecting a child here. So congrats to the LaVine family. Yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, he's gonna be missing the next few games on paternity leave. So congrats to the LaVine family. That really doesn't give me much hope for the Bulls to maybe sneak a win in Boston or play well in Boston, honestly. Zach is kind of needed, I think, against Boston, but hopefully the Bulls go out there, and I just want to see another good game from the younger players, right? So I'm gonna assume that I was gonna stay in the starting lineup with LaVine out. I'll be interested to see who's gonna start again in LaVine's place, because Kobe White will not be back. So assuming that Giddey and Ball still stay in the starting lineup, then maybe it's Buzelis, maybe it's Julian Phillips, I don't know. Maybe it's Dalen Terry, right? Just to keep like the rotation kind of similar. But ideally Patrick Williams stays on the bench. That would be the ideal scenario. So we'll see about that. That also then means I'm going to assume the Bulls will have Levine for Toronto and maybe even Detroit. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what this is going to look like for the Bulls moving forward here. But this is the right time for some of the younger players to really step up. And this is going to be a true test because I've been talking about a lot about how the Bulls have looked dreadful recently without Levine on the court on offense. I mean, the Bulls, Zach has the best offensive rating of any Bulls player right now. But this season though for the Bulls, okay, so we'll just go through, we'll just say for all leverage at the moment, but this season right now for the Bulls, when Zach LaVine is off the floor, the offensive rating basically takes like a 10 net rating dip. And as you can see here, like the defensive rating doesn't really change that much. Like Zach being on or off the floor doesn't really change the defensive rating this year. That's not me saying Zach's been good defensively. He's been like kind of like mid defensively, but you just see like he's not like being an actual like negative defensive asset to or defensive player to the team this year. So like these numbers just show you though, like the Bulls when Zach is off the floor, their offensive rating is horrific. It's 107, which is that's just not very good at all. Their net rating is negative 9.3 in terms of offensive and defensive rating. So this is gonna be a true test. If you're wondering, if I take out low leverage, by the way, which is like basically like garbage time minutes, it actually gets worse, I think, where like the Bulls actually look worse without Zach on the floor. So without Zach, like this is gonna be a true test for some of these younger players, because I do think that part of the reason why this has looked so bad is because the younger players have just been dreadful recently. Yeah. So if you're wondering, like when I take out low leverage, okay, so that takes out like garbage time basically. The net rating drops down to 105 when Zach is off the floor. So we're talking like, you know, medium, high leverage, and then obviously crunch time. Like in general, when Zach is off the floor this season, I know tonight was different. Like the Bulls were really good tonight when Zach was off the floor tonight. But I do think that was because you're facing a Nuggets bench that is pretty bad. But this is dreadful. Like the offense without Zach is awful. Like it is straight up just bad. Like I mean, look at the 3-point percentage without Zach on the floor. It drops significantly. So this is gonna be a major test for the Bulls these next couple of games here. So I don't know how many games Zach's gonna miss. It's probably gonna be at least 2, maybe 3. But the younger players are gonna have to really step up. And unfortunately, when Vooch is on the floor instead of Zach, like it's not like he's done that much better. Like the Bulls, you know, the net ratings, like the offensive rating is better, right, with Vooch on the floor, obviously. But they're unfortunately at negative net rating. But you still see that when Vooch does come off the floor, like the offensive rating does drop significantly as well. So it's going to be really interesting to kind of watch this as we kind of figure out like what exactly is going to happen here with these certain combinations without Zach. So yeah, I'll be very interested to watch how this is going to work out. If you're wondering, by the way, just really quickly, like how this looks, okay, when Vooch is on and Zach is off, I mean, the offensive rating, unfortunately, is still dreadful. Like, the reason why overall Vooch, like, his offensive rating looks pretty good is because when Zach is on the floor, usually Vooch is also on the floor. But in the time that Vooch has been on the floor and Zach is off the floor, the offensive rating has dropped significantly. So that's the reason why I'm just concerned about it all. When Zach is on the floor, Vooch is off, the offensive rating is at 111. So it's not 118, but it's obviously better. So it'll be interesting to just kind of see how this is going to work out for the Bulls. And I hope that the younger players can continue playing good moving forward. But with that being said, I want to say thank you to all the people that checked in tonight's stream. We had 76 different people, or 76 different views tonight. So thank you so much for a great stream tonight. Thank you for chatting with me, everybody, especially the AV Breeze, Viper Strike, Britt, Christopher, Camille, thank you for checking in. Rob, I saw you checking for a little bit. Tyler, I know you're here early on, so thank you all for coming in and saying hi and checking in on the stream and participating. I want to sincerely thank you for that. If you have not already hit the like button on the stream, please do. Whether you're watching live currently or watching the VOD, please go ahead and hit the like button on the stream. Helps me out tremendously. And leave a comment down below if you have any thoughts. I always read them. I don't always respond, but I always do read them, so please do leave a comment down below if you want to. I'll be seeing you guys on Wednesday after the Bulls play the Boston Celtics in TD Garden. Stream will be at 9 p.m. Central Time, assuming that that's when the game ends around there. And I'll see you then. All right. Nice game tonight. Pretty spectacular win, honestly. Just good to see young players play well. And I hope that continues for this Bulls squad moving forward. All right, y'all. Thank you for the stream tonight. It's been a lot of fun. Peace out, y'all.